As big as racing gets with money, sponsors, and big flashy personalities, it all must start somewhere. That's the grassroots. The drivers who get out and race simply because they love it. Because they have aspirations of being the next Andretti or Hamilton. They fantasize about racing around Le Mans or Monaco or Indianapolis. But first, they have to pay their dues at the local level. For many on the road racing side, that local level means hopping in a beater, squaring off against Lord knows who, and hoping you come out the other side with a checkered flag in hand. Today, we honor that chaotic tradition with the 2.4 Hours of LeMess, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Bill Soup Zahn. Next to him is Johan Vandenbelt. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Tuggy Beard. Johan, most local club tracks aren't very big, so in the spirit of those circuits, we race at Tsukuba's 1K course. Tell us about it.
Yeah, absolutely. If today's race is in the spirit of racing at a local level, I think Tsukuba will fit into that character for sure. Because the normal 2000 layout is mostly known for time attack competitions and is already quite small, but if you go one step down to the 1000 track, it'd be hectic for sure. With a length of 1 kilometer, the laps will go by quick and rapid. And as you might imagine, for a track that fits 10 corners in that amount of space, drivers won't have time to relax at any point during the race. And that's not even including the 50 competitors they'll see on track. The one thing that I like about this track though, Joe, is that almost each corner is a hairpin, and because these corners follow each other in quick succession, you'll be able to see a lot of side-by-side action. So before we go to qualifying, let's take a look how this track feels from on board a car as we take you all for a lap around Tsukuba 1000 in the Legends.
All right, we're in the GSRC Legends, so let's do a lap around Tsukuba. The front stretch will easily be the fastest part of the course, but the braking into turn 1 will make it somewhat difficult to get a pass done. It's a long sweeper that blends directly into 2, so this is essentially one big double apexer. Get the car settled quickly because the hairpin of 3 hits you immediately. Don't be surprised to see drivers lose it trying to push too late into the braking zone. Switching back across the track, we've got another double apexer, but in the opposite direction and tightening up significantly. The backstretch gives you a small respite, but it also has this tricky little curved braking zone at the end of it. The final corner is yet another long double apex turn, but this time it's got a huge curve to the inside of the entry. Getting a good run off of here will be essential, but hopefully you've now finished a lap around Tsukuba. As is obvious, it's very quick laps around here, less than a minute, so the laps will be racking up over this 2.5-hour race. But speaking of that 2.5-hour race, why don't we give you a bit of a rundown and maybe more detail, Bill, on exactly how this is going to work, because this is definitely a unique format.
There you have it. We'll bring up the race details now. An exhibition race, so it's just for fun. There's the 4 cars that you got. Now, my choice would be the Solstice, the original rookie car. That's the one I'd be in if I had my choice today. Always fun to drive. No weight penalty on that, and the fuel, we might be able to go the distance if we're in that car. But really the car that I want to be in, well, that's the Legends. That's fun. It's a tiny little car out there. There's a little bit added weight on there, 140 what is the kg? What does that stand for, Johan? What is that? Kilograms. Thank you, guys. All right. And the fuel is 25% of what they usually race. So that's the car I really want to be in. But wait a minute. Maybe the car I want to be in. In fact, I'm sure it's going to be the big street stock out there. No weight penalty on this one. 36% fuel. Oh, man, that's going to be fun. I'm going to dominate the width of the track if I'm in that one. But, you know, my car of choice, the one I would not want to miss is the Jetta. 210 kilograms. 10% fuel, but we can still run a long time. How far are we going? 24 hours. 2.4 hours, that's 144 minutes. Setups are open. Incident caps, no incident caps. Spare car, no spare cars. Let's be careful. This should be lots of fun.
Absolutely. And you said 24 hours. You know, there were actually drivers when we set this race up that wanted a 24-hour race. Maybe in the future we'll see how this one goes. But this is just a celebration, as we said, of grassroots racing, having fun, and getting to experience small tracks with lesser-powered cars. You talked about, Johan, that a lot of the corners around here are effectively hairpins. I mean, is there any good place to pass? Because you don't get a lot of speed up in these cars.
I would say that because of the traffic, every corner will be a good corner to pass. So you will always have cars that are not driving the optimal line. So there will always be gaps to take if you are very alert and try to go for it. The only place where I wouldn't actually try is where we see on screen. We see Giovanni Romano, the corner combination where he's just going through. That's basically kind of chicane, turn 8, turn 9, turn 10. Because of the quick change in direction in that corner, it is very difficult to side by side. You really want to go apex to apex. So that's maybe the only corner where I wouldn't put it side by side. But all the other corners, I would say they are fair game.
As you can see, we've got qualifying going right now. Jamie Hall and the Dirty Torque number 420 car is out there up at the top, and he's being chased by Jason DeVries, who we've seen in plenty broadcasts here on the Global Sim Racing channel. And this is one of the themes that we've pulled from a real world series called the 24 Hours of Lemons, where they encourage teams to come up with unique names and themes for their teams. And I love this for Jason. He has new tire model for make benefit glorious nation of Kazakhstan. So these are all going to be creative names as we look at Alexander Bueller, who currently sits in 11th out there. And I'm trying to make out exactly what he's got, because he just has Team Alexander Bueller. Oh, I guess he's got a few anime girls, a few maids on his car for the HJ Motorsports machine there. So that'll be Senko-san, I think it says on the back there. We're going to have fun with that as the race goes on. Jamie Hall sits another fastest lap in the meantime, Johan.
Yeah, and with that, he just makes his lap time, his pole position time a little bit better. He's around half a tenth above Core SimRacing GTC at the moment. That's a new name. He's currently sitting in P2. That's Mike Pellick. He's driving in the Jetta, if I'm correct. He was a little bit further down the field, but with that new lap time, actually puts himself on the front row. Another name that we see in the top 5 is Polar Bear Racing. That is one of the names that we know here on GSRC. Dawson Brock. He's driving in that kind of classy, I would say, black and green Legends car coming across the last corner. Now he's sitting in P4. Now another famous name on GSRC is our friend for the German sim racing channel, Stefan Slager. He's also driving here today. He's coming across the line now, actually avoiding a crash right in front of him as he's coming across the start-finish line. He's currently sitting in P5.
Yeah, that's something we should point out here, Bill. This qualifying is open qualifying, so all cars are out here, and they've only got 15 minutes, and we've got, what are we counting, 50-plus cars currently. So yep. I guess part of the trick is finding some clear space.
And one of those 50 cars out there is car number 44, a GSRC fan favorite, Sarah Dove, racing with us today. She's in the Little Legends. She just got punched into the infield. Sarah picked up her first career win on GSRC a few weeks ago in the Advanced Mazda Cup. Congratulations to her. Joe, one thing I failed to point out when I was doing the race details, no classes. This is all, we'll have one winner today.
Yes, that's what makes it all the more interesting. Just like they do with the real world 24 Hours of Lemons, we have made sure that all the cars are balanced either by the fuel limit that they have in the tank or by the weight on the car. And hopefully our calculations will come out for things being pretty even. Judging by what we're seeing for the top 10, it looks pretty spread out. I see a Legends car in there. I see a Jetta. I see some of the street stocks. The only car that we're not seeing is, unfortunately, well, Johan, we can't make these what is affectionately dubbed the slowstest any faster, unfortunately. So we mentioned that it can go to the end, but they're going to have to fight from the back, I guess, at the start.
Absolutely. I'm actually looking through the field. What's the highest rated Solstice at the moment? I think we have to go to P28, and we actually can go to that car because he's on track. That's car number 23, Jazz Roadblock. And behind the wheels, Van Damey. He is driving, I think, in the highest classified Slowstist, how it's sometimes called. We just call it the Pontiac Solstice today. He's driving out, as you say, in P28. But one good thing about this car, though, is that probably, Joe, this car can run for a very, very long time. So the other cars might be a bit quicker. This car is in it for the long haul.
Tortoise in the hare, baby. They teach that nursery rhyme over there in the Netherlands for you. You know about the tortoise and the hare?
I know the story of the tortoise in the hare. It's basically how it is, yeah. It's a really good metaphor for the Solstice today. But then which car would the hare be? Would you imagine that being the Legends? Would you imagine that being the Street Stock, the Jetta?
I think the Jetta is going to be the car to... I like that one out there. Although the Legends look so small and cute out there. And they're a little bit lighter than we thought. They might have the advantage.
I mean, if you were mentioning it before we were talking about the race details, Soup, about which car you would like to drive, and you were mentioning that, and I was thinking, there's one car that I would like to drive today. It would be the street stock, because with all these cars around you, I want to be in the tank. I just want to protect myself as much as possible from all the other people. And I think the safest bet is to be in the street stock. And I think that the driver that will be the happiest doing so is probably David Barrenclaw. He's driving around in P5 at the moment, car number 47, because he's the quickest street stock at the moment in Pork Freak Racing. Well, let's keep a half an eye on him and see where he can end up today.
Yeah, when I look at the legends next to the street stocks, it reminds me of like King Kong on the Empire State Building with the little biplanes flying around him. He's swatting at them. Those legends look so tiny. I don't know if they're going to be able to survive out there with the next to the street stock for 2.4 hours.
Well, and the other thing we saw, Bill, in the practice, because we had some practice sessions leading up to this, is it seemed like the street stock has a lot of grunt on the straightaway, and that could be bad news for the other drivers if one of them gets ahead, because trying to pass one of those cars in a straight line is certainly not going to be easy. We've only got 3.5 minutes left in qualifying, but I say only, again, we're looking at 39 40-second laps, so you can still get quite a few in out here. And it seems a few drivers are certainly trying to get them in as we ride on board with Luke coming across the line currently.
Yeah, this is absolutely amazing. Just in front of Paluk, there's actually going side-by-side racing. Let's go to them. Jason Gotta and Chris E. Pence. It's a car in P40 being overtaken by the car in P22. Very good racing in front of them. And this is something that we normally see a little bit in Formula 1 qualifying, and a battle for track position, but it's more actually a race at the moment in qualifying. The way they're going side by side, actually fighting for battle. That is actually Mike Pala getting by one of the Solstice cars there. This is amazing to see all these cars. We actually have all four cars in close succession with each other, bumping each other as they go through the final quarter. Try to, well, maybe have a slightly cleaner next time around.
The good news is for those who are wanting a close race, looking at the lap times all the way down to 46th place, and that's not even the whole field. There's only 3.3 seconds separating those 46 cars. Now, it is a short lap again, but that is pretty tight, and I've taken it will mean that mistakes will be punished harshly, especially early.
Absolutely. Of course, like you say, it is a very short lap time. If I do a quick math calculation in my head, that's around 9% slower than the leader is at the moment. So they should be close to being lapped in around 9 to 10 laps. And well, that's also going to be very quickly when we get going. So yeah, it is very close, but we mentioned it before, and we can mention it again. The story of today will be survival. It will be traffic. It will be keeping your shit clean and just making sure that what you mentioned at the beginning, Joe, you are able, as we see a huge crash there on the start-finish straight, that actually is quite in the spirit of what I want to say. It's all about getting the checkered flag at the end of the race, because, well, to finish first you have to finish, and that will be the challenge today.
Apologies for the language there. We're all getting pretty excited up here in the booth for the race that's about to come. You might be wondering, even though it is a for fun race, is there anything on the line out here that these drivers are competing for other than pride? Well, the answer is yes. You can win $50 worth of GSRC stickers. They will be mailed to the winner if they give us their and number 19, finding the limits of the track there.
That's like 10 pounds of stickers, right, Joe?
Yeah. It is actually 50 stickers exactly. Okay. They're worth $1 each, and we really will mail it to the driver or his team who wins if they give us their mailing address post-race. We'll see if anybody actually wants to have those and what they do with $50 worth of stickers. The qualifying now, about 30 seconds left.
I would take it into like a tattoo artist and say, "Can you put this on my arm?" I think that's a possibility. No,
I dig that. I mean, that's dedication, though. If you're getting GSRC tattooed on, Will Vincent has an iRacing tattoo, so I mean, that's some competition.
I didn't know that when I brought that up. If I had known that, I would not have brought up that. Okay.
I'm not making this up. He really does have an iRacing tattoo on his chest. So. All right, qualifying now ending as everybody comes across the line. Jamie Hall still our still our pole sitter, and he's just pulled off, so he's going to abandon that lap. I see that Jason DeVries is going to be coming around. He's currently sitting in third. Let's see if he can take that one last fast lap. As he comes to the line, this one not going to count for him.
Yeah, I just saw DeVries on that lap. The reason it didn't count, he tried to push a street struck out of the way. That didn't work. He just kind of bounced off.
And also apologies to Johan. I thought you had said something different. The accent had thrown me off there, Johan. It was a different phrase you had said. So
it's going to be happening a few times tonight. Don't worry about that. I think that qualifying is over. It seems like all the cars are off track. So let's go to the starting grid with, well, it's very, very close up top, Joe.
Dirty Torque Hall is going to be up at the front with Kim's Core Sim Racing GTC in second, then New Tire Model Make Benefit. I'll just finish that out. Third, Glacier Pacing in fourth with Dirty Torque, Phil Lake's car in P5. Pork Freak Racing starts in sixth with Apex Predator Racing in seventh. Polar Bear Racing starts in eighth. Ninth is German Sim Racing Channel. 10th is Lavender Racing. Bill?
We go down into the next spot, and boy, this is a long one. Someone's got to get to marketing here. We got Jason Stena. Oh, in the 11th, I'm just doing names here. Miguel De Silva's going to be in 12th position. Row 7, that's Aaron Smith and Jeroen Ursum. Hey, good to see Jeroen up there in 14th. Row 8 is Alex Koford and Alexander Bueller. 17th and 18th, that's going to be to Mark Reichert and Ryan Gerber. And then the final row 10 down there is Corbel Colin and Dirk Fetterman. Johan, who you got?
P21 will be Plap Motorsport, presented by Salt's Pizza, and he's being flanked by the Kinetic Racing car of Scott Corbin. Row 12, Randall McGrew is flanked by Reed Miller, and they are in front of David Shelver and Yuri Jurk. Trevor from Frosky, he starts the race on the inside of row 14, and he is next to Riley Downey. The last two drivers in the top 30, they are Sven Demi in that UJS Roadblock car and the 49 Motorsports car of Dexter Castro.
ADD Racing Black starts 31st with Hammerhead Racing in 32nd. 49 Motorsports, named subject to inversion, starts 33rd. Legends Racing Wide in 34th with Papaya Racing in P35. Then you've got TeamFritosport.com in 36. Race Lab Engineering's #1 car starts 37th. Team Lyle Christensen in 38th. ADD Racing Red 39th. And Bill Team Owo only wins Oscar starts 40th.
CP is down in 41. Dactyl Racing outside of then. Thanos Racing in the 43rd position, flanked by Don't Drop the Soap. Not to be confused with Don't Drop the Soup. 45th is UWU Esports. So, what is that? Give me up on that one, guys. Soap CO Racing in 46. Team Brian Keita in 47th, 48th, 49th, 50th, 51st, Brofix Racing, Bob Ross Racing, ADD Racing Yellow, and Happy Little Mistakes. That's the A division team.
All right. And as you can see, the cars go a long way around this track on the pace lap. So the cars at the back are going to be starting probably about halfway around this thing, as they've already reached that behind the roof pace, or excuse me, Porsche pace car. Jamie Hall is going to lead the field in a Legends. Mike Palak is going to be in second place. Let's see. We got a bit of mixed up at the start. Green flag is out for 2.4 hours of LeMess here at Tsukuba, and already we've got a car off. That is one of the Dirty Torque cars in the grass. They come into the first corner almost 3 wide in some cases.
Yeah, that contact that we saw immediately. Ooh, more contact. Car number 19 is being spun around. That's Alex Coffert, but he's just keeping it on the grass, keeping it out of the track of all the other cars. Big braking zone here for turn 3, and actually everything seems quite clean there. No big power up, Joe. Everything seems to be fine for those 2 cars that had a little spin in lap 1.
It is an endurance race, so it looks like the drivers got the message. As they complete lap 1, Jamie Hall is being chased by Jason DeVries for that second place. Little battle for P4 between Maik Paluk and David Bearclaw, but it looks like Bearclaw could not get the pass done around the outside of turn 1. He slots back single file. It is single file up at the top, but in the back, you can see there are still plenty of cars trying to sort themselves out. There is no place to escape.
I love that Jamie Hall is already in turn 8. Well, now the last place cars is coming across the start-finish line. I think that in 2 laps, they will already be overtaking the cars that are on the back of the field. This looks incredible, though. All those cars going side by side. If we go up top, you can see, though, there's a little bit of side-by-side driving between Mikael da Silva, Aaron Smith. That's on the around to top 10, is that? P11, P12 is that? Yeah, P12 is lost by Aaron Smith. He immediately loses another position between Jeroen Ursem and also one to that anime legends car of Alexander Buehler.
Buehler getting clear, and actually Smith is getting a bit mugged. Reichert's to his outside as we ride on board with Buehler, and yet more positions lost for, unfortunately, the number 70 of Aaron Smith. He finally gets back into line ahead of Ben Morton. Well, no, he doesn't. Actually, Ben Morton gets to his inside now. The street stock is going to try to outgun him down the front stretch. But as they hit turn 1, he's got the inside line. Still not giving it up. The number 70 fighting for that 16th position, 17th position.
Sorry, let's go to P1. Actually, we have a battle for the lead. Jamie Hall's being threatened by Jason de Vries, who wants to go on vacation to Ascana this year. Trying around the outside of the final corner. Actually does a switchback with a little bit of lap traffic in front over the start-finish line. Now he gets the inside. Double right-hander as they go to turn 1 and turn 2. Brakes slightly later there. And that's the correct line. So Jason de Vries, he is our new leader. He gets a position from Jamie Hall. But as they go to turn 3, another heartbreaking moment there. Jamie Hall brakes very late there. Throws it around the outside. If he can keep it side by side, he switches too much on the throttle. Cannot keep it there. Can he keep it there? He just picks his nose in. But it's too little too late. He has to give in, and Jamie Hall is relegated to P2.
Wow, what a battle. We haven't even hit 5 minutes in this race. That slowed them up some with Mikko Ruskola in Glacier Pacing starting to catch them. Don't look now. He's also being chased by the Jetta of Mike. How are you pronouncing this name here, Johan? I'm not sure if I'm getting it right.
I would say Paluch, but I have no idea if I have my German correct today. Mike is actually doing quite well, though. He's trying to close down to Mikko Ruskola in front of him, and I am looking at that street stock, and that street stock of Mikko already is squirming quite a bit on the throttle here again, as you see him going to turn 6 and 7, just almost rear-ending Jamie Hall in front of him. He cannot get it slowed down. Also cannot get it turned in. He seems to have already some overheating tires under that street stock.
Meanwhile, Bill, you've got some action in the mid-pack there.
Well, I don't want to miss about the Solstice guys. Remember, they're the tortoise in this race. Right now, it's Sven Demmel. Now, Joe, we know about Demmel. We've watched him win a championship.
Oh, yes.
He's racing in 29th, and he's got Elliot Hoffman back there. These two guys are in the Pontiacs.
We've had a spin from the lead. Jamie Hall has lost his second place. That was in turn 2. Oh, and he had help. There was a little bit of traffic involved. It was Art Peck, I believe.
Yeah, exactly. Art Peck going very wide. We see the tail end of what happened there. Art Peck just going very wide into turn 1, turn 2. Jamie Hall taking the normal line. As we see from the helicopter, you get a great view of what happened there. Just misinterpreting each other's line and just get right clipped at the end there. The 420 cars get spun around. Actually, some damage as well at the right rear. It seems like Jamie Hall can continue without too much damage. He drops to P7, so he's still in it. He's around 8.5 seconds from the lead now.
Goodness, we should look at the lead, though, because it is a mess. Jason de Vries is in the thick of it. He's being chased by Mikko Ruskola still, but you can see how many cars are between them currently. There's about 5 or 6. That was, almost going off track to get around the traffic.
And that was caused by a little punt of the number 13 car, who just punted some traffic, gets a favorable turn now immediately and loses that time as he tries to get by Chris.
De Vries is in trouble, guys.
Oh, that is, looks like the street stock of Lyle Christensen, who was a lap down, who went off. Unfortunately, it sounds like we've got already some problems for the German SimRacing Jetta as they've come in for repairs. I think we at least have a little bit of radio with that car down in the pits. So why don't we send it to Stefan Schlacher, who's currently waiting for that car to get back out on track. Stefan, can you hear us?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, we've got you. Stefan, what's the conditions out there on track in that German car?
It's slippery. It's very slippery. It's you know, the car just slides over all four radar. I really sorry. My English is not very good. It's very hectic. It could be better, but Germany in Japan, it's chatter. We're gonna get this.
All right, well, we'll come back to you soon here. We saw on screen another replay of Jamie Hall having problems. He's now down in 12th. Bill, you're enjoying that interview.
Yes, get more of Stefan, please.
We'll get more of him later.
I want to report DeVries, while he was going through traffic, he got into it with Mike Majors. The car, he's still leading, but his car had damage. It's looking, yeah, you can see his left front fender not looking too good.
How about we, in the meantime, go to P2 for a moment, because your day is good if your name is Jason. Jason Stenny started the race in P11, fought his way all the way up to P2 at the moment, and is right behind our leader, only 7/10 of a second behind him as they cross the start-finish line. He is having a great race, Stenny, in the course SimRacing powered by correct setup shop car. He's actually fighting for the lead. A lot of traffic just in front of that battling pair. Stefanov in the Pontiac Solstice driving around to P32, being overtaken now by Jason DeVries. And it seems like the other Jason cannot really profit from that. He is being...
Oh, we got a big accident, and it's Jamie Hall again, falling down the order. Looks like it started initially with Dawson Brock, unfortunately, who had climbed up. He made contact with Lyle Christensen, got spun around. Many cars had to scatter, and poor Jamie Hall got caught up in it.
That's just one of the... Jamie Hall actually sitting in the pits at the moment trying to get some repairs done. That's one of the difficult things in this race, in the Legends. It's such a fragile car. It's the quickest one, but it's such a fragile car. And if you get hit by one of the other cars, the chance that you're the one getting spun around, it's quite...
It's like Mama Jean in a mosh pit. I mean, it's like they're just itching to get hurt.
Well, one is leading still, and that is Jason DeVries. Not sure if he's going to have a partner out racing with him. It is a team race today.
There's no way they will survive. There's no way any Legend is going to make it through this to the end.
Where's our highest Pontiac at the moment? Where's our highest Solstice? It's still Demo, I believe?
Oh, sorry, let's go to P6. There's a big crash happening there in turn 3 as well. It actually wasn't as bad as I thought it was. The way those cars got bunched up together. I think car number 52, one of the lap cars, actually got the worst of that. Lyle Christensen, he was being overtaken by several cars. Got turned around in the braking. Actually got it quite well in the straight line again. Got it going again, but he loses quite a bit of time with that contact.
Riding on board with Garbin in 14th, and one of the Jettas almost gets into the back of Christensen, who collects it. Reed Miller is going to out-accelerate him. You know, I almost wonder, because Bill, we keep talking about the tires on these street stocks. What about the tires on the Jetta? Because they're front-wheel drive. One of the few cars in iRacing has that. Oh, as that's Christensen off again. So I can't imagine the front tires are going to feel very good doing double the work after so many laps.
Yeah, that's what's kind of weird to see. We're going to have, I'm going to quote DW here, some goers and comers, though, I think, as we followed this race. 23rd position, Sven Demmel is the car that is your top Pontiac. He continues to race cleanly. Is he still on the lead lap? He is.
Grant Jingling is in the 37 car. He's looped around. He was standing still with the front facing the wrong way for quite a while, just in front of the start-finish straight. He now gets it going again and actually loses him quite a bit of time. That actually happened all on his own, contrary to some of the other incidents that we saw. He gets it going again. No other cars involved in that incident.
Tell you what, Lyle Christensen's having a horrible race. He's spun again. You saw him just be passed by Yingling there. And wow, look at how big that car is compared to the Legends as well. It looks like it's double the length even.
Yeah, absolutely. It is almost a David versus Goliath scenario if you look at those two cars. Very different, very different tactics if you drive in the street stock versus the Legends. Now, one thing that I wanted to say, some news from the pit lane, is that Jamie Hall, our pole sitter, has thrown in the towel after his several incidents. So he's, I think, one of our first retirees, but for sure the biggest name that has already retired here in the 2.4 hour race.
Happy Little Mistakes also look like they have left. So has Bowfix Racing. So a few cars have unfortunately had a very short day. Oh, and DeVries, that was our leader, getting involved in a big incident. That's going to hand it over to Jason Staney. Let's watch the replay from above.
Yeah, and that is all because the street stock of Grand Jingling just couldn't get his car straight in. That's the orange and white car on the left, just cannot get it towards the apex, loops the leader around. And luckily for Jason, he actually can get it going, and I don't think he will have too much damage. This is very painful for him in his fight for the victory today. It loses him a lot of time for sure. He is now, I think, a P4.
And that car we saw almost go over was Random Crew, nearly flipped.
Oh, and Jason again has contact with Yingling. Again. And in front of them there's another spin. Mikko Ruskela is being pushed around by David Barraclaw. That's a crash in the battle for P2.
Oh my goodness. Hard to tell exactly what's going on. DeVries has managed to get himself back up to third. Let's watch the replay.
DeVries is like a chihuahua in a room full of Great Danes. I mean, he's just nipping on the heels. He's getting beat up. But he's just cutting through.
Absolutely. On replay day, you could see the contact between the two street stocks. Just Ruskola being punted off the road a little bit. That loses him one position, although he is following DeVries quite closely at the moment. All this means, however, that Jason Stay is having a great race so far. He's 7 seconds almost in front of P2. And, well, there's also several cars between him and P2. This is great news for Jason. If he just can keep it clean, he is in a great position to just extend his lead further.
I think we're starting to get a couple scheduled pit stops, because I just saw the number 10 in 23rd position now come in for about 10 seconds. He's back out. Grizzly Motorsports' Trevor Vavrovsky has taken what we believe is the first scheduled stop.
And Steny about to lap our Pontiac leader as Fen Demo goes a lap down here on lap number 21.
I do have to say, if you come in now for a pit stop, I don't
leader
think
is in.
that... Oh, that's actually really early. You would almost say that that's not for fuel, but also maybe for some damage, I wanted to say. But with Jason Steny being in for his pit stop, looking at that car is looking pristine, guys.
They have to share a few pit stops.
And he's gone.
Ouch.
Like Goliath and David there, but he's back on the way, Jason. Let's see where he actually is driving around now. Jason is, I think, fourth position. So he lost around three positions there, and the gap between him and the leader is, I actually have to calculate, around 15 seconds.
My.
Ooh, big crash!
Wow.
It's DeVries. He's done.
DeVries and Alan Brown. Yeah, no spare car out here. You got to take care of your stuff. There's no incident limit, but, well, you're not going to make it to the finish.
That was right in front of the stadium.
And that's actually a crash that happened on a completely different part of the track, but because of that crash, they were pushed basically towards the oncoming traffic. We go to a replay of it.
The thing we should point out is there's all different skill levels out here, which again mimics what you have to deal with as poor DeVries winds up on his side. Deal with if you race at the local level. You're going to have some real ringers, and then you're going to have some people who might not know as well what they're doing.
Oh, big crash of Lyle Christensen. He's taking out the 32 car of Alexander Buehler. I would be surprised if Alexander Buehler can continue after that. I don't know what Lyle was thinking rejoining the track like that, because he completely took out the Legends car of Alexander.
Watching the replay, and that Legends car was already looking a little worse for the wear. Missing its hood. actually turned Christensen completely over, and they kept going.
That actually shows the kinetic force that a Legends can have if it's on full speed. You can see there Lyle just trying to rejoin, but that was maybe not the moment to rejoin. That's well, Alexander actually is continuing, however, so it seems like the damage isn't terminal. He is back out on track.
Christensen's had a couple more contacts with other cars. Number 52 is struggling out there, and he's completely spun it now.
It seems like he just has too much damage almost to continue now. The 52 car currently driving a P39. Who is Mike Palau just in front of him? A cackle of cars trying to get by. And Mike Palau, that's I think one of the highest class drivers.
Almost to get four by. Wide. Yeah, that was Mike Palau, who is currently running, I believe.
Oh, sorry, P44. P44
yeah,
he's driving in. But I thought he was driving a little bit higher up, but it seems like because of one of the pit stops, he has been relegated a few positions. He's currently driving 12 laps down. He is quick. Let's see if he can actually fight his way through it a little bit.
Two Jettas going at it. Surprised to see Paluk this far down. It must have had some severe damage in an incident. Right on board with Mike. He said running well down the order, though he had very, very good pace. But the race is not over yet.
How about we take a quick look at the battle for the lead. Car number 47, David Barraclough. He is being followed quite closely by Mikko Ruskola. The drivers are around a second away from each other. They're being held up by two cars. Those are Yuri Jurgen, the Alfa Fanferte car in P15, and Edgar Sancinelli in the Future Sport car in P23. So it seems like David is a little bit stuck, and it allows Mikko to close the gap a little bit. Now these two drivers, I think around 10 minutes ago, came together. That actually meant that Mikko was being overtaken by David. So I think that Mikko has well some debts to pay to David Barraclough in front of him. But those are P1 and P2 drivers at the moment, as Lyle in front of them.
It's a big pile up. Everybody's trying to work their way through. That car on their side is Riley Downey, yeah, was in 15th, just took a tow. It's the number 20 car. Let's take, wow, my goodness. Very difficult to avoid that.
He almost saved it as well. The way he was driving on two wheels for a little while. It was a 50-50 coin flip to land it the right way up again. Unfortunately for Riley, he didn't land the right way up, so he has to take a tow back to the pit.
Now, as we ride on board with Riley, the two street stocks, that's hard to say, are about 13 seconds ahead of Stenny. Remember, that's the legend that came in and made that pit stop from the lead.
It seems like Stenny actually lost quite a bit of time last lap as well. He was P3, he actually had a little spin. It seems to be because of some contact he had with some lap traffic. So he's now driving around to P5. In P3 at the moment. That's a new name that we haven't talked about.
I think we got a pass for the lead here. Hang on, sorry to interrupt you, Johan. This is Ruskola on the inside, Joe. I think he's going to get this done.
You never know, because it's going to switch back the other way into the next corner. David Barraclough tries to fend him off. A little bit of an over-under. Oh, way too far into the corner. That could be a slowdown penalty for Ruskola.
That could be a slowdown penalty, but if that paid off, it would have been beautiful because he kind of tried to drift it with a slide under and tried to get by David Barraclough. Didn't pay off, and like you said, it might be a slowdown because he's losing a lot of time around the second between these two cars now. But what I wanted to mention was the P3 driver, because that's the name that we haven't mentioned yet. Mark Reichert started the race P17, now all the way up to P3 in the street stock. Great race for Mark there. Actually, he's trying to fight his way through some of the traffic. He's around 5 seconds clear of Jason Stahey, who is now in P4. He just overtook Reed Miller. Reed Miller is driving in the car number 17, and he started the race P24, driving around the P5 now, winning 19 positions so far this race. So the street stock is looking quick, guys, with 4 street stocks in the top 5 at the moment.
I'd say the number 17 looks fairly relaxed from what I can see. So, as he continues on with a top 5 trying to chase down Staney, or maybe just follow him through, we're nearly getting towards a half an hour into this race at this point. And 2 hours, 24 minutes that they will be racing today. Oh, and Bill, you've caught some progress on Sven Demmel, it looks like.
It's the tortoise progress. He's out there. He's now up to 12th. He's been lapped, but the cars ahead of him still need to make a pit stop. Staney has yet to get around him yet, so he's still ahead of the top legends that's out there.
And it will be interesting to see the progress that Sven will make. Of course, he's probably in the slowest car out there, but with all the pit stops that all the drivers will make in front of him. Actually, there's a legend being flipped at the moment on the exit of turn 3. That's car number 10. Let's see who it is. It's the driver in P25, Trevor Frofrosky. He got turned around by one of the street stock. That's Yingling, I think, in the 37, who looped him around. Go to replay of that incident.
And it looks like Yingling actually had Davis Shelfer come to his inside pretty late too, so that might have shoved him a little bit wide. There's a lot to keep track of if you're in one of these cars out there.
So
Turns him completely over.
Yeah, there's not a lot that he could have done there in that car. Yingling, I think, was to blame in that incident. But like I said, like a lot of the street stocks are currently in the top 5. But how different will it be when they make their pit stops? We saw the legends come in for their pit stop. Those were quick and rapid. They have to come in a lot. The street stocks, they'll probably be stationary for quite a while trying to refuel them. So those top 5 positions that they're currently in, they'll drop down the order.
I want to talk a car number 31 in 3rd position now, Mark Reichert. He's in another street stock. He got around Stenny, who's the leader out there in 4th position. I don't want to talk classes, but you kind of have to a little bit. Stenny out there in the Legends now in 4th position. But again, I think you're right, Johan. When the street stocks come in, the question is, look at that. How much fuel will they need to take? Trying to see who that was that got up there.
Randall McGrew in P18 just completely misjudged the braking point of the Pontiac and kind of bit himself in the butt there with that incident, because he was the one who was flipping a few times upside down in the Pontiac at a half spin. But Cucutillo here on board with Randall. That's quite a roller coaster ride.
Does he peel away though? Looks like he did. He started the car and he's still running. So Randall McGrew in 20th in spite of multiple inversions. That is impressive, especially in what is a car we thought would be a little fragile.
Speaks a lot to the durability of these small legends. They might be small, they might get turned around from time to time, but they can continue. So good to see that those cars are doing well. You were mentioning the Pontiac driver, the lead Pontiac driver a little while ago, Bill, and I think that is completely well deserved. But we haven't spoken about the lead Jetta driver.
On screen, that was David Barraclaw going wide. Looks like maybe he was just a put off as he was coming up to Shelfer. I think everybody got away from it, though. Barraclaw continues in 2nd place, and he's only 1 second behind Ruscola.
Tide racing up front being broken apart a little bit because of that. The driver that I wanted to put some emphasis on before that happened was Brian Sabelski. He's driving around the P6 and he is our top Jetta driver at the moment. His car looks a little bit banged up, which is not surprising, I think, in a race like today. But he is driving around in P6. He's one of the 7 cars still on the lead lap. He's doing a good job so far, only 3 seconds behind Reed Miller in front of him. He's trying to stay close to those street stocks and really profit once those cars go into the pits. A big crash, however, in turn 1, turn 2. I think that's Scott Corbin's race over because there's a lot of smoke coming from the car that was in P12.
And Sven Demmel was involved in that. Remember, he was one of our front runners in the Pontiacs. I think this started with Yingling losing the car in front of them and unfortunately spun and parked sideways. Demel's view, looks like he was just kind of an innocent victim in all of this. Oof, some big damage on the front. We come back live. We've now passed into 2 hours left to go. Still a lot to do.
Still a lot of cars on track, however. Big smoke plumes are standing in the pits, however. That's the car that we just saw, Scott Corbin. He is taking a pit stop. I actually hope that he gets his car underway again, because that was one of the Jettas driving around in the kinetic racing car P17. He's still sitting in the pits. You see him there, the 641. It was actually one of the highest highest racing Jetta drivers. It would be a shame if his race is over. He had some good pace today. Let's hope he gets his car repaired, gets it going again.
So with Demel out of the race now, that puts our Pontiac focus on GSRC favorite Dexter Castro. He's racing in number 11th right now. It is familiar number 49.
I'm not surprised at all.
And he's in the, not surprised he would take the weirdest car to race too. That's kind of what he does. Yeah.
I have to say, what a great race Dexter Castro has had though, from P30 to P11. That's no small feat.
No, I think the interesting point here to really drill down on the strategy is how long will the street stocks need to stop when they do come in? Street stocks. There we go. We gotta get something to help my tongue on that one.
So far from what we're watching up here in 11th, this 49 Motorsports car certainly racing very cleanly amongst traffic. This is Bueller down in 19th position. Started in 16th, 3 laps down currently. A lot of damage on the front of this number 32 though, but still continuing on. Just ahead of one of our leaders, second place driver David Barraclaw. Port Freak car. I love this theme on this car with the pig on the hood. We're currently riding on Dawson Brock, looking back at him. Now we've switched to Barraclaw's perspective. You can see the pace advantage down the straight line, looks to the inside into turn 1. Dawson's going to give him space.
Oh, nice slide there out of turn 2 from David Barraclaw, just to try to get the throttle going again, trying to get that nose in the right direction. Beautiful pick in front of the car with Joe, but it's getting squintier and squintier, that pick, with every hit that car takes. And the gap between him and Glacier Pacing is around 3 seconds now, so it seems like David Barraclaw is losing a little bit of time, but the gap between him and P3 is a big 15 seconds at the moment. So the two protagonists of this race are Mikko Ruskola and David Barraclaw. They're P1 and P2 respectively.
Interesting that we've got such a huge gap in there between 2 and 3 that you mentioned. Otherwise, a lot of the field is relatively close to one another before we get some big distances.
And Joe, you talk about cars. You know, you got Stenny out there in the Legend, and the Legends look like they were going to be the car to beat, right? He's in 3rd, but the next Legend after that is down in 13th position. That's Sarah Dove. So it's, you know,
that's one of the things.
How about this though? Sarah Dove started 34th on the grid, and that was with a qualifying time. She's up to 13th now. Granted, she is 2 laps down from the leader, but she has gained a lot.
And look at that car. That car is actually looking quite well. The little dent on the left front fender, it seems like. The rest of the car is actually looking quite well, and that's reflected in the position that Sarah Duff is currently in. But the thing that you're saying, Bill, is one of the things to be said before the
Barraclaw involved in a big incident. This is he's falling down the order, and it looks like this started out of turn 3 with a little contact from Bueller.
No, he blew his engine.
Yeah. He blew the engine. Poor Alexander Bueller is next in the little Legends car. This kind of, I'm not sure if Barraclaw ever felt him.
Might have downshifted too quickly. Oh, yep. That's exactly what happened. Well, unfortunately, he's going to have to wallow in that mistake. The Port Creek racing car now in the pits with a blown motor. He could still get back out, but he'll be many, many laps down.
Dawson Brook also involved in that. You can see it on the tail end of the replay. The 63 car, or sorry, the 83 car involved in that crash. Dawson Brook is also retiring from the race after that incident.
There is only, I believe, currently, am I seeing 4 cars left on the lead lap, or is it 5? Looks like 5 cars left. Last one on the lead lap is Aaron Smith and the number 70 street stock.
Oh, but he's actually coming in for the pits, and that's actually one of the first street stocks that I think we see pitting.
Yeah.
Let's keep an eye on Aaron Smith. How long are you stationary, Aaron, before you can get going again? I think this will be quite a while. And now it will be interesting to see where those other cars are, where are the Legends, where are the Jettas, and how far will they be in front of Aaron once he gets out.
I can tell you from experience, these street stocks take a long time to refuel. So I suspect that we'll see them fall many, many positions down as cars go by. This is our leader currently on screen. Miko, go ahead.
Zabelski in car number 12 is our top Jetta. He just went by, got his lap back now.
Yeah, Smith is still standing stationary in the pits at the moment, so Zabelski is winning huge amounts of time. Oh, now Smith is going again, so I don't think he'll be able to get him completely back. But this cuts down the deficit by quite a bit. And Aaron Smith, let's actually see where he is at the moment. That is in 12th position, so he drops down 7 positions because of his pit stop.
But he's outgoing again, and as you said, the Apex Predator Racing number 12 of Zabelski is our highest pitter. Oh, no, I take that back. The SimRacing legend of Jason Stay is our highest pitter that I'm seeing.
Yeah, but he's going to have to come in pretty soon.
That's true, yeah. He's, let's see.
He's been out there for 27 laps. Now, Johan said he maybe took his first stop a little bit early, so maybe he can go farther.
Nope, he's coming in right
now.
There's our second place driver coming into the pits. So where does this put him in relation to Zabelski now? And who is that crashing on the front stretch? Number 92, that is...
Eric Morello, it seems like in P29.
So that started with a little bit of a spin from a Solstice. That was David Melnorovics.
Yeah, and he got contact with Jeroen Oersen.
Yeah, and you mentioned Fiorello as well. How's Ursum doing? He's usually one of our favorites to take a look at here on the Global Sim Racing channel. He's currently running 41st, and he's 60 laps down. He must have been involved in some incidents early, and indeed, as we watch from onboard Jeroen.
And let's hope for Jeroen that he doesn't have a full motion rig, because otherwise he is gonna need some new fillings tomorrow, because that car does a really, once he had contact with the legend, just look at that, clear sky and back on your front wheels again. He gets it going, he's actually driving, but that was a big moment from Jeroen Oersen. He immediately puts it in the pits as well, trying to get some new tires, and I imagine some repairs done as well.
I have an update on between Zabelski, and Ruscola, who was our leader. Oh, more incidents on screen live. That was a Jetta, or excuse me, a Solstice in the form of, who was that getting into him? So many cars, it's hard to get them on my screen. Steph Vainhoff, who got into the back of.
But for Ruscola, he lost it all by himself. Then the problem starts when he comes back out on the track, gets in front of Vainhoff.
Yeah, there was a whole bunch of cars coming up. Come back live. Ruscola somehow still in the lead. Reed Miller a ways back, about 14 seconds of a gap between them still. Got a little bit of a buffer to keep himself in it.
They still need to pit, though.
In fact, there's a number of cars that still have yet to pit, other than the Solstice, of course, who we believe should be going pretty much to the end.
One car that's having problems is Ryan Garbin, the car in P35. car number 36. He's smoking in the pits. I don't exactly saw what happened. Was he involved in that incident that we saw as well? Now it seems like he actually had the same thing that David
There's our
Barronclaw
leader.
did. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. That was Ruscola coming in. We
Now-
just caught him.
Now
ahead.
Staney is our in third place. He's in the Legends. Boy, he's car number 22 right now. He's already made his stop. So Johan, if you think about it, Staney has stopped twice, and here comes a street stock making their first stop. So it's pretty much a 2-to-1 ratio for pit stops.
Yeah, absolutely. The street stock standing still is around 1.5 to 2 laps of standing still. So it's a tremendous amount of time that they are stationary. While the Legends, like you said, they have to come in more. Jason already went in twice, but they so quickly can get it going again. And that's really paying dividends for these Legends. As well as we're seeing some retirements, some cars standing in the pits to get some repairs on. It means that the danger from being knocked around on track for the Legends is also decreasing. That will just help them to keep their average pace a little bit higher than it was at the beginning of the race.
So Staney does come around in the Legends car. He's in second right now, and he's the leader. It's hard to say of people who have pitted, but he's the leader of guys who can go for a while. We're still waiting for Miller to make his stop from the lead, but that's coming anytime.
Yeah, I imagine as well with the street stocks that we see peeling in more and more to make their pit stops. All these extra laps that Reed Miller is doing, in contrary to some of the other higher placed street stocks, is really going to pay him at the end, I imagine. Maybe he actually will be able to do one pit stop less as he almost loses it, trying to avoid the car in front of him. There was the Pontiac of Chris Pence. Great avoidance maneuver from Reed Miller there, but that will hurt him a little bit in this lap time as he couldn't get the throttle down.
Reed Miller in a car painted to give tribute to a certain type of gardening.
Well, I was just going to say that, I mean, he's got 56 laps on those tires. They've got to be a little faded at this point. So the number
Absolutely,
7, who's still got a gap of about 6 seconds to second place, seems to be struggling a little bit.
Yeah, especially in the street stocks, those tires will be almost liquid, I imagine,
Here he
by
comes.
now from all these laps, and he is going into the pits. Yeah, that's a good moment for Reed Miller. He can do around, well, how much laps did he do longer than some of his rivals? I think 7-8 laps longer than some of his rivals. And like I said, if you can keep that amount of stint length up for the rest of the race, that might actually mean that at the end of the race, he has to do one pit stop less than the rest.
Danny just avoiding a big incident. Looks like Miguel da Silva involved in that. He's currently running 12th. He gets it going, but the Legends car of Randall McGrew unfortunately has to take a tow. I think that starts when McGrew has a spin in front of him. Oh, he had help, though, with one of our leaders. Joni Hagner gets him. There's Hagner in the 13. He's trying to make hay while the sun shines. And unfortunately, 3 wide through turns 1 and 2 just does not work out, at least for the Legends car. I have to admit, this has been run almost to perfection by Jason Staney so far. Still leading by about 14 seconds after 2 pit stops. And I'd say I'd put this down more to clean driving over anything else. Because of the fact that he's the only Legends car within the top 7. Next one is 8 with Sarah Dove.
Sarah Dove, yeah.
And that's actually one of the things that you can see on this car as well. If you compare that Legend car with some of the other ones that we still have driving around, that one looks fantastic. It might have some little little bends here and there, but that car is looking very, very good. Giovanni Romano is standing in the pits at the moment. That's a Lavender Racing car. He was sitting in P2 before he came in for his pit stop. He is being overtaken by Joni Hagner at the moment, who retakes his second position. He will be dropping down the order soon, as well as Brian Shabelski will move himself in the Jetta into the podium positions.
You know, the series organizers tried to balance the cars so they all be equal. I think the one thing they couldn't take into account is armor, and I really think that's where the street stock has the advantages. It's the Legends are fast, but you know, Staney's the only guy who's been able to survive out there.
It certainly seems like we've got a number of street stocks up at the front, despite their long pit stops. We've got Hagner, we've got Dreyer up there in P3. Then there's Aaron Smith in P5, Reed Miller in 6th.
But Johan, look at the driver you talked about, car number 12 in 4th position in the Jetta now, Zabelski.
Yeah, exactly.
Up to
So
4th.
with all those pit stops from the street stocks, he actually won quite a bit of positions. He saw a dive bomb coming there from the 5.5, took a wide line through the last couple of corners. He gets it going again. He will actually lose a position now, I think, to Aaron Smith. That's the battle for P4. Aaron Smith in the 70 on the inside. Double right-hander. If you're on the inside, you're going to get a position. So Aaron Smith takes that 4th position. I think that it has been a while since Brian has been to the pit. So the time is in the Jetta. Actually, 15 laps since he has come in. He's around 1/3 of his second stint at the moment. I think that Brian will start to feel those tires go slightly as well. The track temperature isn't that high, 31 degrees Celsius at the moment, mostly cloudy conditions, so it doesn't heat up very quickly. We have seen it higher, but yeah, it's not cold either, so those tires will feel the heat a little bit, and you'll feel that at the end of your stint.
Yeah, and I think kind of pit stop probably wouldn't be the worst thing for Zabelski either in the Jettas. Those have got to be kind of tough to deal with.
Credit to the 49 Motorsports name subject to change, the number 49 of Dexter Castro. He has cracked the top 10, currently running 7th now, and as expected, yet to pit stop for fuel or tires.
Yeah, and that's the thing though. He who's actually P8 is Giovanni Romano. He's around, well, let's say 100 meters behind him. So if Dexter Castro can just keep his car wide at the moment, he actually might be able to keep himself in front of Lavender car, who's actually having some trouble himself getting by lap traffic. Dexter is doing a phenomenal job as Grant Jingling puts it in the wall again on the start-finish straight. Number 37. Everyone who's coming around the last corner has to take avoidance maneuvers there and do so.
One of Castro's strength, and we followed him, we've broadcast enough of his races to may not be the fastest driver, and he's really good at running on old tires. In fact, he enjoys when tires go bad. He thinks he has an advantage. So, yeah, I don't think we're going to see him in pit lane at all today if he can.
No, I think so. I think that you kind of have to like driving on old tires if you're in the Pontiac Solstice, because you probably won't go to the pits for any new tires today. And you really have to maximally extract everything out of those tires always.
Had a change for position. Reed Miller now gets by Zabelski for P5. That happened into turn 1, so the number 17 cracking into the top 5 of the field. He is a lap down from our leader, though. And this might look like doom and gloom for all of our other competitors, but you really, I mean, we've already seen you cannot count your chickens in a race like this. So much can happen, so much unexpected stuff around you. We actually still have, I want to say, around 35 to 40 drivers still running on track, which is not too bad considering 51 started.
Absolutely not. Like, we mentioned it a few times in the pre-show as well, Joe. This race is hectic for the drivers. And what you normally have, the amount of action in the 24-hour race, you'll have that and then some in this 2.4-hour race. There's so much happening everywhere.
Route 4 position on screen. This is Davis Shelfer fighting with David Melnorovics, trying to fight for P16, and the Solstice is going to have to give it up eventually. The power of the street stock, too much for him.
The leader right behind him, Joni Hackner. P2 right behind him, Joni Hackner. Trying to get by some lap traffic as well on the 13, actually does so. Look at the drive that the street stock has compared to the Solstice out of the corners. There's a world of difference there. That's really helping all those street stock drivers to get by the lap traffic.
Even still, I look at David Melnorovics, and he started 42nd. He's up to 17th, so he's gained quite a few positions just by keeping it out there and keeping it clean. So we ride on board with Hagner, second place driver, trying to put a lap on Team Benny Meatball.
You know, Jonan, I want to talk about a point you brought up earlier. For our leader, Jason Stenny, out there in the Legends, as long as it doesn't involve him, attrition is his friend. The less cars out on track, the less he has to worry about somebody banging into him.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think that he will be looking at this F3 screen, keeping maybe contact with his race engineer, trying to see if there's actually cars retiring, because every car that is not on track will be more of a help to Jason. He will have to try to get quickly by this traffic because of all the pit stop he has to make. He has a lot of time to lose in traffic compared to his rivals. He's doing a good job, however, trying to get by the car of Stefan Slage in front of him. Stefan is back on track. We spoke with him earlier in the broadcast, of course, when he had some misfortune. He had to stay in the pits for around 9 minutes to get his car repaired. But the German SimRacing channel car is back in P30.
I've been watching. You see Steady at the back of the pack there, Joe. I've been watching it the way he races. He races as if he is invisible, as if they cannot see him. That's how he's been able to survive.
I was just going to say, yeah, we're seeing illustrated the difficulties in trying to overtake even cars of a different make. Now he's going to have one even within the same make. That's Derek Schimmel to his inside. And he's going to be able to squeak through. But it took him a lap and a half just to try and get by the Jetta, a damaged Jetta at that, with Stefan Schlager. Car off track that you saw there, that was Brian Kita in the Solstice.
How about we talk a little bit about a driver we haven't spoken a lot about, Edgar Sancinelli, driving around in P13. Edgar started the race in P36. He has won 23 positions. The American driver is doing a phenomenal job because look at that car. Compared to some of the others on track, that could be showroom ready. And he's still keeping it on track, almost in the top 10. In the Jetta, we could see it with, for example, Brian. Once those other cars start making their pit stops, he can move himself even further up the field. Great race for Edgar so far.
Sancinelli's claim to fame is driving the pace car in the Absolute Beginners League's All-Star race.
Yeah,
attempting to drive the pace car.
And from our experience watching him, we knew when the chips are down, that FritoSport.com car would do well.
Jeez, you really had to dip deep for that one, didn't you, Joe?
Come on. My joke's getting a little crunchy. Anyway, so have an hour and a half left to go. That means we've just about had an hour of racing out here on this 1000 course at Tsukuba. If you're just joining us, this is the 2.4 Hours of LeMess that we're watching, a special exhibition race here on the Global Sim Racing channel with 4 different makes of cars, all racing in the same class for the overall victory. You're looking at our leader right now, Jason Staney for Core Sim Racing, powered by Craig's Setup Shop. Craig should be proud because so far this Legends car has been dominating the field, and mostly we believe due to clean racing, but you can't deny he's had pace.
Oh no, pace is not the issue of the Legends. It's fragility.
Certainly. Our highest of the VW Jettas is still Brian Zabelski. He's in 6th position. A few laps ago, we saw him overtaken by Reed Miller for that 5th position. But credit to Zabelski, he's only lost about 4 seconds up to Reed.
And what I love, Jackson Castro, we didn't see it. He is our highest rated Solstice driver. He's passed by Giovanni Romano, so he's now back to P8, as he's also being overtaken by a lot of legends at the moment. But Dexter Castro is actually doing a good job in P8. So he actually got overtaken by one of the cars on track. That's Sarah Dove. Yeah, Sarah Dove got by him, so it's now P9. But even though he's still in the top 10, we have all different makes in our top 9 at the moment, and that just shows that no matter which car you drive today, you always have a good shot at having a good result. And one thing that I was looking at is the lap times of the leaders at the moment, because it's really interesting to see the difference between Jason and Yoni at the moment. Yoni actually is quite a bit quicker, around half a second per lap on average, and that's really allowing him to just close down the gap by a few tenths per lap. And once Jason will come in for his pit stop, I'm 100% sure that Joni will retake that lead. I do think, however, that Joni has to increase the pace a little bit more, because once that street stock come in, I don't think that the pace difference is big enough for that street stock to be in front of Jason when he comes in for his second.
Great analysis there, Johan. So we watched our leader weave his way through traffic. He overtook Jorge Salijo, as well as Ben Morton. Now he's trying to work on Giovanni Romano. This is all the way up to 7th place, and this will be a second lap on the number 28 that he will lap him. Again, very short lap times, looking at 40 seconds, 39 seconds, depending on where you are.
Leader is in.
Ah,
So actually, let's actually keep an eye on that leader and where he is now. We can go to Johnny Hagner, who is actually who touches the rear of Edgar Sancinelli slightly there on turn 3. Both cars can continue, no harm done. Let's see how long Jason will stay in that pitch, because Johnny is seeing that, of course. He is hearing that from his teammate Nico at the moment, that if you hurry up, you can take the P1 position. But where is our P1 drive?
He's
He
already
actually goes
out.
back out again.
Yep.
Yeah, Jason, that is a really quick pit stop, because how much time did he lose there? The gap between these two drivers coming over start-finish line is 12 seconds. So that means that only 17 seconds were lost by Jason in the pits. That's really big.
Yeah, I know this is going to be confusing when you think about pit stops and how long they need to stay. You have to think not only fuel mileage but the size of the tank. The reason that Stenny can be so fast is the Legends don't use up a lot of fuel. The reason they have to stop so much is because their tank is so small. So he just comes in. Oh, he gets tipped a little bit. He comes in and makes a short stop, and he's in and out, even though he has to make twice as many stops as the street stocks do.
yeah, even a full tank in the Legends car is about 5 gallons. That's it. So the limited tanks on these things, he's only filling up a little more than a gallon to ride on board with our leader. You can see the gap. Hackner is running him down. He is on the same lap now, and he's within about 10 seconds.
Yeah, like I mentioned, the lap times of that street stock are just better. So I don't think that it will be too long before we see an actual battle for the lead. Now, the pit stop of Jason also means that Sven Dreyer is back on the lead lap. He is the car in P3, the number 31 car of Glow and Disc Motorsport. He's around 39 seconds behind the leader. He gets a little tap there in turn 1 of the Jetta behind of Miguel da Silva. So we have now 3 drivers in the lead lap again, all for the top 3 position. 2 street stocks and 1 legend.
There you see the red and white number 31 of Dreyer just ahead of our leader as he has to deal with yet more traffic. Miguel da Silva on his outside now, going to let him through, but tense moments for the Little Legends car. Is he? Oh, so he has to give him space coming around the final quarter once again. That survival instinct of the number 22 is certainly help keeping him alive. Looking through the fields. Curious, actually, because we haven't given out a Dory Award, and this of all races definitely needs a Dory Award. So who's the last car still out on the track running? I'm looking through. Looks like Elliot Huffman. So one of the teammates to the 49 Motorsports car, 33rd position. Everyone behind him is in the pits. They could still come out on track, but a nice little Dory Award to the number 6 car. And the full team name of that one is 49 Motorsports, name subject to inversion, if you couldn't tell by the paint scheme.
You know, Johan, it's interesting as we have the advantage of timing and scoring, but you see the drivers that are being passed are Jetta driver Zabelski, and you see Castro losing spots in the Solstice. They really don't care because they're going to get those back up because they're not coming into pit. So it's funny is they'll lose spots. Then when the pit stops come around, they get them all back.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's a real different mentality that you have to have, because normally when you get past in a race like this with multiple different cars, you don't want to be passed, or when you get past you think, well, that's a different pass, I don't have to worry about it. But every time you get past, it's really a pass for precision, and you just have to keep repeating to yourself, I'll get it back in the pits, I'll get it back in the pits. That might be really difficult for yourself to just keep the focus, keep the motivation up. So the fact that, for example, Dexter Castro is doing so incredibly well today is really admirable, because he's being chased down now once again by Joni Hagner behind him. Hackner trying to take a look on the inside of the chicane there, doesn't make a stick, actually swerves, understeers out completely, gets the final apex, slides through it, slides all the way to the start-finish line, then gets the power down. Look at the power of the street stock. He gets going again quickly. He passes Dexter Castro for another lap.
When has a Finn ever been afraid of sliding, honestly? So
Absolutely.
he's put another lap down on Dexter Castro, but Hagner running in second place and running a torrid pace. You can see he's pushing the car. He has cut it down to 7.5 seconds up to our leader, Jason Staney. And Staney's been dealing with a lot of traffic. In fact, he is right now. You can see on screen just how much he's being slowed up by all these cars ahead.
And that's really the reason that Yoni can just cut down the deficit, is all the traffic is just holding Jason up way more than he wants. Jetta and the street stock in front of him are fighting. He takes a late lunge as the 67 car behind Jason also tries to take a little look on the inside. Gets by the Jetta, now gets by the street stock, but there's also a Pontiac Solstice. He has to avoid it, 3 wide out of turn 7 there. 2 wide into the final chicane. Now gets single file again, only 2 cars in front of him. But what an action-packed lap for Jason that is. And you just have to fear that every lap that you have to overtake other drivers is so scary, because one contact in that Legends, you're not in the safest position if you hit another car. You just know that you have to avoid every single one of them.
And also you have to wonder, how long will that rabbit's foot or that horseshoe stay inside the cockpit of Staney's car? Because I've just watching these couple laps, he's had a number of close calls in there that could have gone his way. Things completely out of his control. Off track, I think that was Dirk Fetterman that I saw in the AVA Veratic Cheap Sheep, who's gotten back on track. He's all the way down in 29th. But he's Jetta going once again.
Sarah Dove just had pretty good contact with Dirk Federer. She was having a good run. She's the second highest Legend. Not sure how well she's going to be able to race now. She's out there again.
Well, she was running laps in the 41s and the 40s, so we'll keep an eye on that pace. He only lost about 5 seconds with that contact, interestingly. Taking a look at that gap, it is now down to 6.3 seconds between the number 22 and the number 13. Up at the front, there we see, and now trying to lap actually 5th place driver Reed Miller. Miller's going to just let him through.
Yeah, nothing to gain for Reed Miller to try and stay in front of Yoni, especially with the pit strategy that Reed Miller is trying to do, making very long late pit stops and actually maybe trying to go a stint later. Now, one thing was Yoni actually has a little bit of contact with the legend of Alan Brown in front of him. That's a P23 car. One of the things that's not helping Yoni is now he's right in the middle of that huge cackle of cars that Jason was a few laps ago. And now it's the turn of Jason to actually win a little bit of time back. The gap, however, is was to 5.5 seconds. Now back to 6.5 seconds.
What if there's a car spinning in front of him?
Oh, Johnny Hagner gets involved.
Look at what that Legends did. He got into Hagner and turned him around. That a boy.
Sarah Dove gets caught up in it and hits Hagner. Oh my goodness. Bill, I think that's some sea life. Looked like an octopus trying to put on a certain piece of clothing.
Putting on his socks there, indeed. Look at that. Our second place driver in that street stock when Schimmel hit him in the right rear, got him around.
And Schimmel was trying desperately to catch it. You could see him there off to the side. Oh, poor Sarah Dove had no place to go but right into the number 13 as we rode on the nose of the car.
Yeah, it's so sad for Schimmel that he actually didn't save that car, because if there were no other cars behind him, I think he actually would have saved that car. But just because there was some other cars behind him, he didn't save it, and he's actually to the pits now. It seems like that Legend car is quite damaged, so from P26 he has to visit his pit crew, try to get some repairs done.
That puts Hagner 17 seconds down from Staney now.
It's hard to tell how Hagner's car is driving, whether it's because he's such a good driver, he gets the car so loose, it's hard for me to tell.
Oh, and we had a miscommunication coming into the pits. Brian Kita and Miguel de Silva just moments ago. I think this was a case of de Silva wanting to pit and Kita not wanting to pit. Let's watch this. And unfortunately, just didn't realize that there was going to be a car to his left. So they both wind up heading into the pits.
Oh wow, that's some driving there. Some late Sunday afternoon highway driving there, trying to get back to the exit that you missed. Poor Pontiac there that actually is forced to take a pit stop, or actually basically forced to take a drive-through there. I don't think he made a pit stop.
That's true. Yeah, he doesn't want to come into the pits ever. Speaking of which, looks like progress report on Dexter Castro, the number 49, is now in 8th position. Zabelski has since gotten past him. Actually, Zabelski's going to lap him soon, even.
Zabelski, our top Jetta driver. Castro, our top in the Pontiac.
That car off screen that we saw, that was Yingling trying to get his car going. He's currently running 25th. Just lost the car on his own, from what I understand. There's Zabelski on screen. Yeah, more cars of varying speeds around him at all times is Phil Lake, the dirty torque driver. Remember, wasn't it Phil Lake that spun on just about lap 1?
Yeah, he's now our
back up to 10th.
second highest Legends driver, with Sarah Dove running into issues. He's down there in 10th. Really just makes all what Stania's doing all the more impressive when you see that there's no other Legends in the mix.
Philip Blake is trying to get by Evan Longacre. Evan Longacre driving around the P18. These two actually came together 2 laps ago when Philip Blake was trying to lap Evan. This time around, they're going side by side through the final corner. Just Phil taking the long way around, but he actually cannot get the power down as well as Evan does. Has to try and make a move on the inside of turn 1. This time around, Evan slightly outbrakes himself. Philip Blake gets that lap traffic. Good race, or good recovery race, like you say, guys, from Philip Blake to go from spinning in lap 1 basically to P51. Now all the way fights himself back to a top 10 position.
Oh, and I think we've lost one of our top drivers in the street stock. The number 70 seems to have disappeared. And he just pulled over on my screen, so I'm not entirely sure what happened to Aaron Smith. I'll have to try and get some word from him. He blinked out a little bit, so maybe his internet connection just not working well. And this is not a situation where you want a poor internet connection. Meanwhile, on screen, we see Zabelski is in and out.
Finally made that stop.
Oh, looks like simulator issues for the number 70. Oof.
That's harsh, especially after the good result that he was having so far this race. On screen now we see Brian Sabelski, our top Jetta driver. He's driving another top Jetta driver, but not in the results reflected. Stefan Slager, he's driving around a P26. Stefan currently 13 laps down to the leader.
Meanwhile, taking a look at the number 19, this is Cofford. Just managed to overtake Dexter Castro. Cofford must have had a pit stop recently. That moves Castro actually down to 7th. Yep. Cofford up to 6th because of the recent retirements we had. And
was up in 6th. That's the highest he's been so far.
It is actually 3 cars that are very close together, all for position. Because if you go 2 cars backwards, you see Philip Blake, and he's driving around the P8. So Philip Blake, Dexter Castro, and also Alex Coffard. That's P6 to P8, very close together on track as well.
I think Lake is going to get Dexter Castro here soon. Castro's running a pace of about 41, 42 seconds per lap, whereas you look at Phil Lake, he's dipping into the 39s at times. He's got the bit between his teeth. We ride on board with the UK&I driver. I wonder if we could stay on here all the way to the front stretch and keep this graphic up. I'd love to see exactly how fast these little legends can get it going, because the top speed's going to be at the end of the front straight here.
Lake's been out there for about 17 laps, so even if he makes this pass, he'll only be out there for another 10, and then Dexter will try to get him back.
But like we saw, once he comes in for his pit stop, it will only cost him around 17 seconds. So even when he comes out again for after that pit stop, it won't be long before he will be harassing Dexter Castro again for that P7 position. Now it is Philip Lake at P7, and Dexter Castro has to be relegated to P8.
So Castro goes down to 8th. And remember, we talked about Zabelski. Zabelski just made his stop in the Jetta, so he's got fresh tires. He'll probably be able to run down Castro here pretty soon as well.
Also not a big gap between those two drivers. Let's actually see, there's around 4 seconds between them. And P10, that is Jurk. He's also only 1.5 seconds behind Brian. So P8 and P9 till P10 also very, very close together on track.
Better watch the 555. Put in another lap on Stefan Schlacker. Oh, Schlacker poking his nose in a little bit on the second apex, but certainly not trying to run into him. Oh, maybe he is trying to get by here. I thought he would stay back. Yuri, is it Jurg? In the number 5?
I would imagine Yuri, yeah. Or,
okay.
I don't know.
Well, he hails from Diach Club, so that tells us anything. The AVA Bravatic tow truck, hence why he's got a fake phone number, and hence the 555 on his screen, continuing to run around. This is another one of our themed schemes that I love out there on track. He's coming up on some traffic, though. This is Elliot Huffman, as well as Brian Zabelski. Now, Zabelski is 4th position, though.
Yeah, and Zabelski kind of doesn't want to look back to Jurk at all, because he wants to look forward, because he is chasing Dexter Castro. The gap between them, as you can see, 1.5 seconds to Yuri Jurk, but the car right in front of him is 4th position as well. That's a battle for PA. Dexter Castro trying to defend to Brian as they exit turn 2, but Brian immediately taking a look on the inside, braking for turn 3. Dexter taking the long way around, actually trying to take a bit more momentum through that corner that way, and that actually means that he stays in front through turn 6, through turn 7. Brian cannot put it on the inside of Dexter Castro, and they have to go single file again through the chicane. Dexter Castro making his car as wide as possible. Looking at how much difficulty that car has, Joe, to really get the car steered to the apex. He's almost watching a losing battle. Brian getting a good exit out of the final corner. Now on the inside of turn 1. Under braking, almost gets it done. We see the car of Yuri Jurk getting involved in that battle as well. Brian gets by. He's now in P8. And Yuri Jurk immediately wants a 2 positions in a few corners. Gets by Dexter Castro as well. So he is now to P9.
And let's bring in our leader, by the way, Staney, in the mix as well, as he tries to lap all these guys. 4 different drivers, 4 different agendas, 4 different makes.
Around the outside of Castro, but Castro is heads up, and he sees it coming. More traffic with the cars ahead of him. We mentioned, oh, and he's in. I guess Staney figured now is as good a time as any to get that pit stop done. Meanwhile, Zabelski on screen, getting overtaken. Around the outside through 1 and 2. This is brave stuff from the 555, but he makes it stick.
Now, Hogner's going across the start-finish lane right now, and he's out in front, so we have a pass for the lead. Hogner got him, Staney, during the pit stop.
But Yoni has been out there for 49 laps. That is a lot of time on those tires. I think he should be coming in relatively soon, and we know how long they stay stationary, so he should be handing this back relatively easily.
49 laps and a couple punches from a few Legends cars in the side while he was out there too.
You're absolutely right about that, Joe. The first stint of that P1 car, the number 13 car, was 53 laps. So with 49, I would reckon that he will come in around 4 laps from now. But we saw with other street stock cars like Reed Miller that they could go a much longer time than some of the other street stock cars. So if Yoni actually managed to save a bit of fuel in traffic compared to the others, he might stay a little bit longer out there on track now.
All right, help me out. How
he
far
actually gets involved in the incident. Reed Miller spins around. Yoni has to go fully on the brakes. Brian Kite is involved in that, and Gabe Neal as well.
Wow. Things were relatively calm, and then suddenly it all explodes. Let's watch from onboard Hagner's view. All started with that spinning solstice, and just has nowhere to go. The 29 gets a shove. And we see Reed Miller off to his left.
Yeah,
Miller's not for position. That is a lap down. Go ahead.
Yeah, once Gabe Neal tried to let everyone go by, but he tried to put the power back on while he was on the grass. That spun him around. And there's a concertina effect, just bunched everyone towards each other. Let's actually see where our leader is, because he lost a little bit of time because of that. The gap to him and Jason Stay is only 4.8 seconds, so less than 5 seconds between P1 and P2. Once a Glacier pacing car comes in for the pit stop, guys, he will surely lose the lead, and I think that he will even be relegated to P4 or P5.
So our race length is 2 hours and 24 minutes. Am I got that right? Is that right, Joe?
This would be halfway.
2:20. So we are the halfway point. So you got to think that Yoni's thinking, okay, I'm leading at halfway. That's where I want to be. Oh man, he gets a little bit of a touch from a solstice there, but he keeps the car going straight.
Yeah, that certainly bodes well for the 13. It'll all depend, I suppose, on timing and the length of pit stops. Bad news for him is he's only about 5 seconds ahead of Staney. He is able to go on for at least a couple more laps from what we've seen of the pit stop length, the stint lengths of others. This is Sven Dreyer that we're seeing in the pits. Oh, and a driver swap. Tim Cook hopping in. Halfway, that makes sense. That's Glowing Disc Motorsports that puts a new driver in, fresh, ready to go. I don't think it's so much physical, Bill, as mental in this one that you need a little bit of a break.
I mean, I think that depending on how your wheel settings are, of course, in the sim, it might actually be physical as well, as the leaders coming in for a pit stop, because there's so many corners in such quick succession, you're never able to rest. So it's not only mentally, but also physically. Now, Joni is actually coming in the pits. Will he hand the wheel back to Mikko Ruskala as he's coming in? Actually, seems like he might be doing that. Yeah, Mikko Ruskala is back into the car. So it will be another Finn driving that 13 machine. He's already been overtaken by Jason at the moment, number 17 of Reed Miller. He was involved in that little spin that we saw a few laps ago. We'll get by him as well, I imagine.
They'll be lucky if they get out on the lead lap. Staney is about to lap him here.
And Miller is going by Staney coming through now, and he does lap him. So the only car on the lead lap currently is Jason Staney. I do want to give a little bit of kudos to the drivers here. We saw a lot of action early on, and there were certainly a few people getting frustrated, which is understandable. But I'd say for the last hour, it seems like the racing's cooled down.
Absolutely, yeah. There's some spins here and there, but most of them, they are self-spins. They're people just spinning it all alone. As I saw Grant Jingling just looping it around a few moments ago, got it going again, no problem whatsoever. But it seems to be a lot cleaner as for sure compared to the start of the race. Now look at Jason at the moment. He has a gap of 36 seconds to Reed Miller. We know that with the pit stop strategies of the street stocks, Reed Miller will be coming in for the pit stop. Once that happens, Jason will be the only car on the lead lap.
Guess I called it a little too early there. Apologies to Reed Miller. You're right. He is still chasing down Staney. For those wondering about the lighting around here, will not get completely dark. However, it is currently about 5:15 in the evening, virtual standard time in Japan. Oh, and Dove nearly getting into Castro. Like Sarah was able to pull out of it. That is actually 4th position, so this is a significant fight. This is for 8th overall.
Yeah, and also there's another car, Yuri Jurk, just behind him, is trying to be involved in the battle. He's getting a horrible exit out of turn 7. He's being swamped by a Jetta, a Pontiac, and a Legends car. So it sounds like the beginning of a joke, but it's reality for Yuri Jurk. Was actually, I think he ran out of fuel almost. Look at Yuri Jurk, the 555 car. He's very slowly coming in the pits. The way that car is shaking, I would almost say he's out of fuel.
He does make it into his stall, thankfully. The 555 probably going to have to sit a while if he is out of fuel to get that tank fully up. We ride on board with Castro still, looking back at Dove.
Dove has been out there for a stint of 20 laps. Dexter Castro for 107.
So let's see. 107 at just past halfway. So he'd be looking at about roughly 212, 214, 212, I guess, more likely.
Yep.
Yeah, something like that. It's a long haul for Dexter Castro there. Seradov gets by him around turn 1, turn 2 combo. Good move from her to get by and get that P8 position. Now, there's no P10 to worry about in the form of that 555 car. But Philip Blake, he's not too far away either. He inherited the P10 position. He's around 1 to 2 seconds behind Castro now. The car between them is Dirk Federman. That's one of the drivers that we haven't spoken a lot about. He's currently driving around a P25. Dirk started the race in P20, falling down with some trouble, I imagine, and some repairs earlier in the race. He keeps it going again. 14 laps down. He's trying to chase down Stefan Slager, who is in front of him on track, around half a lap in front.
Talked about the stint that the 555 did. It was only 54 laps. Compare that to what is currently 56 for Reed Miller, a second place driver. He really knows how to stretch this fuel.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something that we saw during the first stint of Reed Miller as well. Now, I don't think it will help Reed Miller to actually skip a pit stop before the end of the race, as Reed Miller actually is coming in for his pit stop at the moment. I don't think he will be able to skip a pit stop, but he will be able to shorten his pit stop by quite a margin at the end of the race if he can just keep this kind of fuel stretching up for the rest of the event.
So putting 4 fresh ones and a tank of fuel in the number 17. As there you see our leader continues around. Now the only car on the lead lap, Jason Staney. Giovanni Romano takes second place. And this bumps the Glacier Pacing car back up into third. They're waiting for the car ahead of Giovanni Romano also to take their stop. That should be within the next lap or two, since they are on lap 55 themselves. So while we wait for that number 28 to decide it is time to come in, and while we wait for Reed Miller to exit back out to get ready racing, we're going to take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Again, you're watching the 2.4 Hours of LeMess. Still half the race left to go. Welcome back to Tsukuba Circuit, the 1K course you can see from up above here. And we are past halfway here in the 2.4 hours of LeMess. Your leader right now is Jason Staney, leading by an entire lap over second place. Glacier Pacing's Mikko Ruskola. He's been helped by Joni Hagner in that street stock. You can see the traffic still pretty thick here, even though we've had a number of retirements as the race has gone on. Third place, currently, another team that has swapped drivers, Tim Cook in Glowing Disc Motorsports, number 31 machine. There's your podium on the track. And actually, I believe all three of them are on different laps right now. Such has been the difference. But it's been exciting. It's been a little bit chaotic. We expected that. Currently, the number 22 still dealing with a little bit of traffic in front of him in the form of Cofford in his street stock, as well as Brian Zabelski, the highest of the Jettas. And in fact, he sticks it in late to try and get by the Jetta. Looks like Zabelski's going to let him through.
And that's one of the things that's not helping Jason at the moment because of all the traffic he's doing. He was doing around mid-40s the last few laps. This time around he did a 39. Oh, actually has some contact with the 19 in front of him. He turns Alex Cofford around. That's not something you see a lot of legends turning a street stock around. Luckily for Jason Stay, he actually comes out of way better there than the number 19. We go to a replay of that incident. The contact happened into turn 7. This is on board from the 19 looking backwards, Bill.
I don't believe what I'm seeing here. He punched that little Staney, punched him.
I mentioned it before, David and Goliath, and you can literally see it happen on track here with the little legend turning it around from on board from the helicopter. You can really see it, how strange it is to see what's happening here, but that little touch is all that the 19 needed to get a loop around. Well, both cars can get it going again. The number 22 will lose a little bit of time. Actually did a 41 last time around. And Mikko Ruskola in that 13 car, he is loving it, guys, because he has been consistently in the 39s the last few laps. Well, one exception here and there. So he's chewing down the deficit to that legend in front. Will it be enough? I don't know, but he has the best pace on track at the moment.
Joe, how about 4 different makes inside the top 7? Pretty good mix.
That sounds fantastic. Top Pontiac is still the number 49 car. Dexter Castro and the 49 Motorsports name subject to change. 3 laps down from our leader. And the highest V-dub is still Brian Zabelski. Just 1 position ahead of him, actually 16 seconds up the road. And a correction, we do have the 2nd and 3rd place cars on the lead lap. About half a lap apart from each. Actually, no, they're about to go a lap down because Ruskola is just getting ready to pass Cook now. So temporarily on the same lap.
Ooh, and the 19 gets spun again. What a horrible couple of laps for Alex Cofford there. This time in turn 1 he gets spun around. But who was that this time? It seems to be the Jetta of Scott Corbin, who just brakes too late going into turn 1. We go to a replay of that instance. You can see the blue Jetta there, braking too late. Punting again, the same piece of car that was turned around a few laps ago by Jason. And again turned around here. The 19 can continue, however. But man, he was driving around in the top 10, and this is not helping him, being looped around twice in 2 laps time.
That happened right in front of the cars in 2nd and 3rd.
Managed to get through cleanly, but Cook was passed by Ruskola. So now, for sure, all 3 of the top 3 are on different laps, but this could change yet again because David Barraclaw trying to get out of the way of Mikko Ruskola. He eventually pulls off to the side, but it got tense in there as they also had Scott Corbin in the Jetta causing a little bit of issues with traffic.
And I think that David Barraclaw will be feeling a little bit like I should be in the position. He was our leader at one point in the race, if I remember correctly. But the man Barraclaw pick car is had some troubles during the race. Had to stay a long time in the pits. Currently driving around a P32, 50 laps down. And he has to win 13 laps to the car in front to win another position.
Had a bit of a moment up ahead of what we were looking at here with the Pork Freak racing car. Yingling ahead of Ruskola, and Ruskola dived late to the inside to get through. 3 wide, meanwhile, on screen as Yingling stays out of the way. Barraclaw as well, letting the number 31 stay ahead. And there's our overall leader just behind them. You see in the orange and white Legends car. Puts another lap on Yingling. Looks to chase down Barraclaw and Cook yet. And Barraclaw goes way wide through 1 and 2. That'll make it a lot easier for Stady to catch him.
Oh. Just punch him, Stady. Get out that slingshot and do your David stuff, man.
Let's hop down to 14th because I think we had an overtake.
Yeah, we just had a pass.
77, yeah.
Yeah, Benjamin Morton got by David Melnarowicz in the Pontiac Solstice. The 77 in front just got the overtaking done. Good overtake, however, from the 77 because he made it between turn 7 and turn 8. That small rundown towards the flick-flack chicane at the rear end of the circuit. Also seemed like David gave him a little bit of space to finish the overtake. So the 77 wins 1 position now in P14.
I'm curious if we could pull up our gainers and losers, see who our hard chargers are as we watch Morton head on into the pits, see who's gained the most positions, at least out of the top 20. And you can see 10 positions up for Stady, not bad. How about Cook, up 14? Then you get back to Castro and Dove, 23 and 26 positions. They're both topped by Melnarowicz. Excuse me if I botched that. That was horrible. David, regardless, 28 spots up in that number 40 machine. Ooh, as he almost makes contact with the 43.
Honorable mentions to Edgar Sancinelli and Konkel in P19 as well, gaining more than 20 positions this race. Now, the leader has made a pit stop a few laps ago, and that's the reason why the Glacier Pacing number 13 car is back on the lead lap. The gap between them, however, is 36 seconds. Now, if you remember, guys, how long a pit stop takes in the Legends car, that means that the 22 is 2 pit stops in front of the street stock. The street stock, however, is quicker at the moment with that consistent 39s, while the Legend dips into the 40s quite a bit. So it's gonna be tight. If both these cars can stay out of trouble in traffic, I think that, well, these cars will be very close together once the race is almost over.
Got a battle for position brewing here for 5th pretty soon. Now, Zabelski's got that Jetta up into 5th. This is the highest he's been all race. Phil Lake just made a pit stop, and he's doing a really good job in the Legend. He's about 2.5 seconds back and closing fast.
I have to say, Brian Shabelski doing 40s last time around at 40.1 in the Jetta is astonishing good to get those kind of lap times in that car, especially after doing several laps already. The last time he was in the pits was lap 90. He's currently in lap 130, so 40 laps ago that he was in the pits. Still doing such good, quick lap times is really, really good from him. But like you said, Bill, a quick Legend behind you that just made a pit stop, that's probably no match for the Jetta in front. And Philip Blake last time around at 39.5. He's making quick work of the deficit, cutting it down half a second per lap.
Solstice of Huffman pulls out of the way of Zabelski as we now ride on board with Phil Lake. Lake has now tightened it up to about 1.7 seconds up to Zabelski. And again, this is for 5th position. Let's see if Huffman lets Lake through pretty easily. He's going to make him go around the outside. Maybe an over-under instead. Nope, he's going to just pull to the right. Phil Lake gets the racing line and continues on. They are being chased down by Mikko Ruskola, who's going to put a lap on them. Our 2nd place driver in the street stock.
Yeah, Ruskola last time around to 39.4. Amazing lap time from the Finn there. Really quick, especially if you compare that with our leader who did a 39.5, but a 39.5 from the leader was one of his best lap times, and I think, well, basically the last 30-40 laps of the race. So it shows that the P2 driver, that street stock, is very quick at the moment, just cutting down the deficit. That battle between Phil Lake and Brian in P5 at the moment, the deficit between those two cars has been cut down to only 1 second. So 2 laps from now, I would say Philip Blake will try and overtake. Ooh, there's a spin in front of them. It's a street stock, a blue street stock. Riley Downey there in turn 3 loses it.
And
Actually comes back, yeah.
that gives Lake the spot. Meanwhile, Zabelski was checking up to keep himself safe. And there's Hagner with more problems. Excuse me, Ruscola this time, rather. Looked like the number 20 just lost it on his own.
I think that the number 13 gave him a little tap to spin around. With
they initially lost it on his own.
They initially lost it on his own, yeah. But here, he tried to give him space, though, and he just got tapped there in the middle of the second apex. That spun him around, and he immediately retired from the race as well. So it seems that the Sunshine Autos blue car is out of this race.
Just as the sun sets. So we watch the replay from on board one last time. And there he goes off to the side. That didn't cost the Glacier Pacing car too much. Oh, and Zabelski's in. Zabelski pits from 6th place, I guess now, with Lake having gone by.
Yeah, so I imagine that Sarah Duff, who's currently driving around the P7, will get by Brian there. Reed Miller in P8, as well as will Dexter Castro, who's driving around in P9. I don't think Alex Coffert will, who's driving around in P10. So Brian actually gets it going again. Actually gets it going a little bit quicker than I thought. He's around 2 seconds in front of Sarah Duff, so he stays in P6.
Have to imagine, though, Dove probably going to have a little bit of pace here on the number 12 car, although not with cars in front of her. Kyle Aitken and David Milnerovic is certainly not helping his case as they come down the back stretch through the chicane into the final corners. Oh, and she gets held up big time, almost getting into the back of Aitken. Again, this is not for position. Aitken is a lap down as he covers off the inside even, giving a real headache to Little Bird.
Yes, he actually has to defend from the Solstice now, who tries a move on the inside of turn 3, gets by, but this means that Aitken has a horrible run. Duff gets by, stays on the inside of the Solstice, gets by the Solstice as well as they go around turn 4, turn 5 there.
And in the background, that was Aitken getting spun.
Up. Rucola goes around. He was 17. In second. That's going to allow Staney to lap him.
And what happened there with Rucola? Because he was doing so well, but going towards turn 3, he gets punted completely by the Pontiac Solstice behind him. There was Kevin Goskowski, who missed his braking point, turns the 13 around. Really hurts the 13. Like you said, he gets lapped immediately by the leader. And all the pace gain that the 13 was doing the last few laps, like half a second per lap every single time, is just all for nothing now.
Just that little tip, and suddenly he's around. Now, you might notice when we come back live that Tim Cook is right by him, but he is not ahead of him in position, just on track. Is all it is. He's still trying to get his lap back from Ruscola. He has it temporarily, at least here. He's got to start pulling away.
But there is a battle of the 4th place drivers in the mix too, of Romano. Now that will be a position for 3rd, right?
Yes, that is about 2.5 seconds between the 31 and the 28. He's gained a little bit of time, and he is on the hunt. He is on a slightly different strategy, though, from the number 31. Romano last pit 24 laps ago. Cook 36 laps ago.
Getting closer and closer. Another battle that's heating up is for P7. Sarah Duff is being put under pressure by Reed Miller. Last time around, Reed Miller did a 39.6. That's almost the same pace as Ruscola is doing. So very quick lap times from Reed Miller. He has cut down the deficit to Sarah Duff, well, less than a car length off the street stock.
Right on board on the Legends, looking back at Reed Miller's machine. As he gets close to the rear end of the car coming through the final corners. And finally get through. No, he's going to try and play patient. Knows he's got a straight line advantage, just needs the good run off the turn. And look at the defensive move down to the hairpin from Sarah Dove. Just a very short stretch now into the next left-hander. And once again, Miller is absolutely stuck.
Yeah, Sarah had to defend in turn 3 there. She was sliding all the way through turn 1 and turn 2, so her exit was horrible. By defending, that was the only thing that she could do to stay in front of Reed Miller. As Reed Miller almost has contact there through the last corner with Sarah Duff. Let's see what's the better exit there. It seems like Sarah Duff again is just very good out of the final corner. That means that Reed Miller is not getting any opportunity to put his car side by side. And this is horrible for the pace of Reed Miller, who's now around a second per lap slower than he was when he was chasing down Sarah a few laps ago.
This reminds me of that time the little guy in China stood in front of the tank and said, "You shall not pass." That's kind of what Sarah Dove's doing right now. Just playing some great defense here.
Just a reminder, we are in Japan, Bill, not China.
Okay.
I figured you knew that, but I couldn't resist the jibe. So, as we ride on board with number 17 running down the front stretch, this is where we keep expecting it. Is he going to get desperate, though?
She's too tough.
Yeah.
I actually think that this is the better place. Well, not with that little wiggle that Reed Miller just happened. I think that in turn 3, that's the best opportunity that he has, because every time they go through turn 1 and turn 2, it almost seems like Reed Miller has a little bit more stability and can get more momentum out of that corner. He's just not able to get that last little bit that he needs to put it side by side. This is really good racing, however, between two completely different cars who are really on each other's lip at the moment. Going through the final corner, different racing lines. You can see Sarah Duff sliding. That this might be what Reed Miller waited for, but he slides as well. And doesn't get the power now, but he gets it enough down. Side by side now. Inside, he takes a little look. Sarah Duff has to take the outside. It will be 3 corners in a row. The Reed Miller is on the inside. He gets by now, but Sarah Duff can brake late on the outside. She does so. All the way around the outside of turn 3. Can she stay there? Because the next corner will be to the left. And then she will have the advantage. Still side by side. As they reach turn 5. Turn 6, Sarah Duff goes back in front as she gets that P7 position back.
Miller cannot catch a break, but what a fight between those two. And as you pointed out, 2 completely different cars. And more than that, these are 2 oval cars, typically racing on a road course in an endurance race. The number 17 gets another run to the inside. He's got to complete it this time. Dove, though, a little bit too wide, completely past, finally, Reed Miller up to P7.
Good setup of Reed Miller. Basically, the last lap was a tryout, and this time he actually did the job. He almost loses it in turn 3, though. Didn't give Sarah Dove an opportunity to get by. Great racing between these two drivers. Really intense battle between both of them.
And Sarah actually going to be overtaken by a car that is a lap down. That is Greg Klein you see coming through. He is currently scored 17th, and Dove's in. Meanwhile, the battle for third has not gone away. I kept half an eye on that as we were watching that battle on screen. Cook being chased by Romano.
Yeah, and the reason we go to it now is that Romano finally got the gap down to under a second. He's a bit quicker than Koch at the moment. Not by a long shot, though. Around 2-3 tenths per lap. So it's baby steps every single lap. But it's just enough to put more and more pressure on Koch in the 31 machine. As they go over start finish now, the gap is back to 1 second. There will be a little bit of traffic in front of them. Nico Ruscola will be in front, but like we said, he's a lap in front, so it's not really a battle for P2. There's a bit of contact between the 44 there. Sarah Duff having contact with the P2 position. Also, Yingling was involved in that.
Yeah, she just made her stop. She came out into the middle of that.
With fresh tires, I would assume, too. Or at least, if not, cooled down tires. Yeah, that was a bit of junk there in the middle of the apex as everybody came together with Yingling nearly spinning. But meanwhile, on screen, Dove losing out to Riscola, who's going to put another lap on her. Same thing with Cook, who's got the inside, but Cook's trying to stay away from Romano. Romano has to stay to the inside as well as they got more traffic in the form of one of the Solstices. Pulling out of the way at the hairpin, everybody through clean.
But that 19 on the outside of Sarah Duff is actually for position. That is the car of Alex Coffert getting by him, and he's using that Pontiac to great effect. There's pinching Sarah Duff behind him. And that means that he can buy and get that P9 position. Sarah Duff relegated to P10 at the moment. Go back to P3, however, because all that means that, well, the gap between P2 and P3 and P4 is the same as it was a few laps ago. Around 1 second, they lost a little bit and then they gained a little bit. Stefanov right in front of them in the Pontiac Solstice. Maybe Giovanni can use that to his advantage. Try to close down the gap to Koch a little bit more as Koch tries to take a very late move on the inside of turn 5. Doesn't make it. Actually has a bit of contact with Steph. Can continue though.
Cook is able to sneak by, put a car between himself and Romano coming through that final corner. Crawford is a lap down from these guys, so he's not fighting for position. Now the 28 is back up and chasing the number 31. 40 minutes left to go. We're getting towards the end of this race now. How tired are some of these drivers? We've seen very few driver swaps throughout the field. Cook is one of them. Ruscola is one of them. Romano, though, I believe, has been in the entire time. Yes, he has.
Yep. Yeah, and it has been a while for some. Ooh, as Tim Koch gets it all out of shape in the final chicane, and that might give the opportunity to Giovanni that he needs. Getting it all out of shape means that he hasn't been able to put momentum out of the last corner, though. And that's the saving bureau that Tim needed there to stay in front. But his tires seem to be to the end of their life at the moment. He's squirming under throttle a little bit. Last time he came in for his pit stop was lap 104. That actually means that within 10 laps, I think that Tim Koch will come on here for his next pit stop. Giovanni has a lot newer tires. He only came in lap 116, so 12 laps newer tires. That is paying dividends for Romano at the moment, who's putting more and more pressure on Koch.
They are on the same amount of pit stops as well, so that makes it all the more fascinating. Looks like Romano going to try and stretch his just a little bit longer than those around him. See what he can do at the end with fresher tires as they're at the inside of Fetterman and that Jetta trying to stay out of the way. Holds off onto the side, but it doesn't give the natural racing line to Romano or to Cook. They're going to come out the other side just about how they left off, 3/10 between them.
Just a quick update, we don't have to go to it, but Staney just made his pit stop, so the leader has made another pit stop, and it means that Ruscola is back on the lead lap. However, this battle for P3 is the most exciting one that we have at the moment. Romano just putting more pressure on the car in front of Koch. The gap between these two drivers going over start-finish line only half a second. And as they go through turn 2, you kind of need a good run here through the second apex, but it just seems that a different and wider line that Koch takes through that set of corners helps him to get more momentum and defend going into turn 3.
Oh, and I think Sarah Dove had it coming together with Crawford just now.
Yeah, I was watching this. These guys, it was heating up. They were trying to work their way through traffic.
I don't know. Usually, Sarah is a pretty good driver, but I think that was way too late of an attempt.
It was, but then she did slow down. She did stop for the 19 to get going again and give that position back. So it was her mistake, but also very fair driving from Sarah.
That puts her down in P10. Crawford stays in 9th. We watch the onboard from Sarah's view.
Good news for Dexter Castro, who's ahead of these two guys. They were both closing on him.
Philip Blake just spun around. Philip Blake just spun around. Our P5 driver got spun around by, I think that's Aitken. No, he did it all by himself. Sorry to Aitken there.
Oh, wow,
it was very close between them, but he did it all by himself. And this hurts Philip Blake a lot, who drops down. Well, doesn't drop down any positions, but he loses quite a bit of time. He's now within 6 seconds of Reed Miller in P6.
What fantastic avoidance by Kyle Aitken as well. He managed to stay out of that when that car was just about a foot ahead of him. Could have so easily gone wrong for the 43. Currently running 21st position. 12 laps down from the leaders.
Oh, sorry, Eric Fiorello almost saved it there. P24 got sideways coming out of turn 2. He almost saved it though, but In the end, he just couldn't keep it in a straight line. Didn't hit the wall, however, just loses a bit of time. But that car got all out of shape into turn 2. You can see it here. Losing control, counter steers, tries to catch it, and then loses it almost into the wall. He can continue, but loses a bit of time. Eric Fiorello.
Staney's in trouble.
For the first time this race, I think, oh, it's big trouble. Look at this stack up. That's Phil Lake in there. Milnerovich is in there. The number 19 of Crawford.
He muscles out of it.
How much damage did he get? We know he lost time. He got hit from behind and in front, though. This is a good view from above. He just gets completely sandwiched.
But it's his own mistake, though, because he loses the car before anything actually happens, and he gets sandwiched because he loses control of the car. That hit from the 19, who cannot get slowed down quickly enough. That is probably the biggest damage for any of those cars there. But Jason can continue. He loses a bit of time. Saying that, though, he didn't lose that much time, around 4 seconds compared to his normal lap time. So let's see how severe the damage is after a few laps. You see another replay of the incident. Alex Crawford just almost gets a slowdown completely, but just not enough.
Well, he had almost no choice on which way to go because he saw a Jetta to the outside sideways and hoped that the inside line would move, and it did not. So Crawford now, well, he's still in 9th place, so didn't lose anything. And I think we have another driver swap as the 3rd place driver is in. That's Mark Reichert. So that hands over 3rd to Romano. Reichert for Glowing Disc Motorsports should be getting back going momentarily.
And I think that Reichert will be finishing the race for Glowing Disc Motorsport there with 35 minutes to go.
Nicely done by the Lavender Racing number 28 car. Only 1 lap down from our leader. Currently running 3rd place. Still trying to catch up to Ruskola ahead of him. There's our leader on screen, the 22. So that last lap, or the slow lap rather, for Jason Staney.
Yeah, no big deal.
Be only 4 seconds slower. Yeah, Bill.
Yeah, it's like, that is one tough legend, that car number 22. It got hit on all 4 sides. He's still running laps under 40 seconds.
I think we're going to see another stop soon for Glacier Pacing. Mikko Ruskola, who is in the car right now, has about 55 laps that he's been running. And we were informed behind the scenes that they will likely be making another swap back to Hagner.
Yeah, that will probably be the last pit stop for the 13 machine, who actually has to avoid the 555 there, gets going again. That will be the last pit stop for them. Now currently they're, as you can see on screen, around 29-30 seconds behind the leader. With 1 pit stop, I think they will be on the edge of 1 to 2 laps down. However, P22 or the P1 machine, the guy in 1st place, Jason, has to make 2 or 3 pit stops more. So they'll get a lot of time back like that. But they really have to win a lot of pace on track, or hope that Jason is involved in a few more release out on track.
Meanwhile, those fans of the 31 car, Reichert's brought it back out in 6th position. Returned actually not too far behind Reed Miller. It's about 2.5 seconds between those 2 cars, and that'll be for 5th position as he puts another lap on Crawford.
Now another car that we haven't really spoken about for, I think, the whole race is the car in P12 at the moment. That's Team Benny Meatball. Behind the wheel at the moment is David Shelver. It's the 41 machine. They're currently 5 laps down. They're trying to chase down the 555 machine. We haven't spoken about them, but having a good race out there. They started in 25th position, winning 13 positions so far. So they're trying to lap Dustin Berenson in front of them in the blue Jetta at the moment. A little bit of contact there between them as well. Good race of them. David Shelfer is behind the wheel all race long, so he must be getting tired as well. But he's having a good race out there, winning 13 positions so far.
We saw on screen that the Glacier Pacing number 13 went in. They are coming out right now, returning in third place. Romano has now moved up into second position and still has a couple more laps left on those tires and that fuel tank. Down to half an hour left to go in this race. We still have all 4 makes represented in the top 10. That includes the highest of the Legends, which is our leader, Jason Staney, in the number 22. He's been leading for a majority of this race, a vast majority of this race.
Interesting as Phil Lake was able to get around him and get at least one of his laps back.
And Lake certainly seems to have very good pace. So we see him there, that in the Dirty Torque machine, the black, orange, and blue, the number 99.
We know Phil from the Camel series that we cover here on GSRC.
Every once in a while, the 49s as well. He'll hop over into those older F1 cars. So that we mentioned our highest of the Legends cars, our highest of the street stocks right now, which is a bit of a false read, is Lavender Racing Giovanni Romano. He will have to pit soon, but he's running a bit of an alternate strategy, so we don't know if the number 28 will be able to hold on to this come the end of the race or not. Then you get to the highest of the VW Jettas. That is Brian Zabelski, currently sitting in P7 in the number 12. Zabelski's been running this whole race by himself, no driver swaps, and having started it in 7th position, still in 7th position, I'd say that's no loss, no gain. Bill, sounds like you found some fun action on the track, though.
I think we got Reed Miller under attack here from Mark Reinhardt in the 31. Make sure these guys are on the same lap. They are indeed. This is a battle for position.
Mark recently made a pit stop. Reed has not, so his tires are very tired. And they've got lap traffic up ahead of them. That's the 555. Oh, and he spins him! Avoiding action, but not good enough for the number 31. He hits him. Let's watch it one more time. This started when the 17 got antsy. Tries to get around the 55. There you see the incident there. Down into the final corner, he is in a hurry because he knows he's under attack. Looks to the inside, and the 555 does not realize he's there. 31 comes off the worst of the two, though.
Not to worry, though, as Joe said before, Miller will need to come in for that stop really soon.
In fact, he's on 53 laps currently with that set of tires.
Amazing driving from him. He has been averaging 57 laps per stint, so I would say 3-4 more laps, and then he will come in for his pit stop. That will mean that he will come out with around 24 minutes left to go. And it also means that he kind of only needs, I think, 2/3 of a tank. So quite a shorter pit stop that Reed Miller needs once he gets out again.
Shorter pit stop and fresher tires. Wonder if that will help him. Meanwhile, less than 30 minutes left to go. We try to see if we have a battle back here. It looks like, actually, no, everybody's separated after that little incident that we saw on screen. Let's take some time to finish up the top drivers of each car that we mentioned. Even though they're all racing in the same class, worth mentioning at least who's been able to do what with what. And that includes the Pontiac, the last of them. Dexter Castro, the highest. Now, he inherited this somewhat from Sven Demmel, who was running an incredible pace and was even higher, farther up. I think a whole lap maybe, potentially ahead of the number 49. But Dexter Castro is the one that has survived so far. So he's gone from 30th place in qualifying. Very underpowered car. Very few of them qualified well. In fact, I think Demmel was 28th overall in quali. up to now a top 10 in ninth position. Is this for position, actually?
No, but it is between those two cars that's got the Jetta and the Pontiac of Castro and Zawelski.
Looks like Sabelski's going to get that as he sneaks through in the second hairpin.
And just to highlight how good Dexter Castro is doing, he's a lap in front of P10 at the moment. So he doesn't really have anything to fear from the driver behind him either. He's just out there doing his job, actually waiting for the drivers in front to make another pit stop, maybe win a few positions that way. And just cruising down the final 26 minutes of this race to a really good top 10 position. So a good drive out there from Dexter Castro in the Pontiac.
Interesting. He's got to have a weird type of philosophy inside his ears because he's probably the car that has been passed the most out there. He hasn't really, I don't think he's passed anybody on track. He just keeps driving. Cars pit, they pass him, they pit, then they come around, pass him again. I think Sarah Doves has passed him at least 7 times this race.
Meanwhile, we've got something going on with
Philip
the
Lake
lake
spun,
here.
yeah, P4. Actually had a spin in turn 1 a few moments ago. What actually happened there? He was
with
charging.
Saligo.
Yeah, he was trying to overtake Saligo there. Dive bomb from Philip Lake on the last moment, it almost seems like.
Very
taking a lot
patient,
of
though.
risk.
No.
Trying to, that was taking a lot of risk trying to overtake some lap traffic there. And that really hurt Philip Lake, however, because he got spun around. Maybe some damage on his front wheels as well there.
Watch this, though. Watch all the cars that have to come through, and he just takes the risk, trusts that everybody's going to be able to get through, and then turns it around. Nicely done.
One of those
That
cars
returns
was
Lake in fourth.
Jason Staney. Remember I said Phil had got around him. Staney had to take evasive action.
Reed Miller has since come in and out. He's returned in 7th place, the number 17 car. That should be his last stop.
Now, we mentioned several times in this race Jason Staney and the 13 machine, the Glacier Pacing car, because those two cars really were fighting for the win all race long. How is the pace? At the moment, Jason Staney switching around 39s and 40s in their lap times. So say an average of 40.0 at the moment. However, look at Johnny Hagner at the moment in that 13 machine. He is flying out there consistently in the 39s. Actually managed a 38 a few laps ago as well. I think that's the quickest lap of the whole race that we've seen, the 38.8. So the street stock of Johnny Hagner has so much pace at the moment. Let's see if they can bring him at least close to Stanley before the race is over, who still has to make one pit stop.
Lavender Racing is in.
We had a big incident with Cofford involved. He's one of our street stocks that was in the top 10. It was Dustin Berenstein who got him. This was coming into the final set of corners. You might have to back up a little bit more than this. It was a bit ago as you were explaining things. Ooh, got a shove even before that we saw. Coming onto the backstretch. Oh, and then, we got some angry drivers, I think.
Both of them seem to be some NASCAR-style justice there. The 19 getting the worst of it, flipping around, but going again.
So, as we... who's the 37? That was Yingling once again. Off track, getting it going. Yingling, to his credit, he's still 22nd place. He's just been having a heck of a time controlling that poor street stock. Wow. There's some Jay Chitwood action from the Jetta. I don't know how he kept that thing upright.
Wow, that was some circus-style act.
tires, but still a lap down. Staney is back out on track. This is going to be a very tough ask for the Glacier Pacing car to run down the number 22.
Yeah, because I think that they will be right on the bubble, but I think that Jason is just there to finish this race on this tank of fuel. So this will be the last time that we see the 22 coming in for a pit stop. Now the Glacier car, like you said, is over a lap down. He is quicker at the moment. Johnny Hagner still last time around at 39.0. What a pace Johnny is showing at the moment. But it seems like that there's just a little bit too much of a bridge to distance Joe before the race is over, to really put pressure on Jason before the race is done.
Now, you say that we think it might be the last pit stop, but what were they doing? About 25 laps in the Legends we've been seeing?
Last time he went in the pits was lap 153, and he is now in 178. So that's around 20. No, you're right, actually. Yeah, there's 25 laps that he did. So he probably has to make one more pit stop before the race is done.
Because if they're doing sub 1 minute laps, 20 minutes left to go, yeah, he'll have one more splash and dash to make it to the finish. Is that what Joni Hagner needs to try and gun him down? Keep an eye on the pace of the cars, and also watch out to see when Jason Staney actually comes in. What we expect will be one final little stop.
Yeah, the interval is a minute back from Staney back to second place. So unless he finds trouble, I think he's in good shape.
So what other battles do we have going on? I see Zabelski. Oh, I think actually Zabelski got overtaken by Miller just recently.
He just came out of the pits, Brian Zabelski. So he came in for his final pit stop from P6. Now driving around in P7, I don't think he's quick enough to put some pressure on Reed Miller. Let's see, the car behind him is Dexter Castro. I think that Brian will be consolidating that 7th position that he's currently in. Trying to stay there, maybe profit from some maybe eventual misfortune in front of him. Although he is not that far off Reed Miller. Around 2 to 3 seconds between those two drivers at the moment. Looking at the pace, Reed Miller seems just a little bit quicker. Who Alex Colford just went wide, went around in turn 1. It was his own mistake though. He was trying to overtake Dexter Castro, but in the middle of turn 1,
Phil Lake right now just got turned by the 555, and I was just about to comment about how I think he took his last stop a lap ago.
Hard hit for Lake there.
He was drifting off the corner, and the 5 was there. This looks a little bit more like a racing incident to me, because I think the 555 lost traction a little bit at the same time that Lake was trying to give him space and just plowed into that wall.
Luckily for Lake, it seems like his car is fine though. He's still out on track, and looking at the way he's steering, it doesn't seem like his suspension got a knock, so he can continue. Will he actually come in to the pits to repair his car a little? I would say stay out. Yeah, he actually stays out, so he's not coming into the pits. He can continue.
Small but mighty are the Legends.
And as I said, this should hopefully be the last pit stop for Phil Lake. So he's potentially within the top 5. One car in the top of the field that we're waiting on to take a final stop is Jason Staney. 17 minutes left on the clock. He's been out there for 7 laps so far and will be just shy. You talk about a different mindset, though, for the Pontiac drivers, Bill, and especially Dexter Castro. He is now on lap 181 and has not taken a pit stop. Just the mental fortitude, because it gets repetitive. There's only 10 corners around here.
He's got 4 seconds up on guess who? Sarah Dove, who will be passing him for probably the dozenth time.
That's if she catches him.
Oh, she'll catch him.
She's got to deal with traffic of her own. Reed Miller is in front of her.
But the thing though is that Sarah Duff, I think, has to come in maybe one more time before the race is over. So she might actually pass Dexter Castro, but like the story of Dexter Castro's race, he will get that position back in a few moments' time. Now, one thing that you said, Joe, is that racing here gets repetitive. I agree with you. Racing here alone gets repetitive. Racing here with all these other cars around, it's action, constant action.
That's true. I guess no 2 laps will be the same.
Ooh, Sarah Duff gets hit hard there by Carl Aitken. Carl Aitken had some contact with Reed Miller, got turned around right into the path of Sarah Duff. Both of these can continue though. You said it before, Soup, as well. These cars are sturdy, and this is once again an example of that.
Watching from Sarah's view there, you can see the contact between the 43 and the 17. Wow, that was a thunk. And it just keeps going.
Yeah, that's the third example. We saw what happened there to Dove. You saw what happened to Staney, and then Phil Lake really got hit hard. He's still out there racing.
You're correct on Dove needing at least one more stop, at least if Staney needs a stop, because she's a lap longer than Staney currently. At least, or a lap shorter, I should say. And the gap between Staney and Joni Hagner, still more than a lap I'm seeing. What's the laps been like between those two? Well, why don't we check to see what the comparisons have been. You've seen mostly from this race how it's gone on, Johan, that he's been quicker. And
look at that. Oh, like you can just see that he is. Take away lap 185 because there's only 1/10. But apart from that, it's at least half a second per lap. It's a shame that we cannot see lap 184 because again, Joni Hagner did a 38 there. He's the only driver that is that quick of anyone at the moment. He is just putting the hammer down in such a tremendous fashion. Like we said, it will be difficult, however, to close down the gap to Jason Staney in front of him because Jason is just not making any mistakes. He's staying in front. He has to make one more pit stops and he will lose that final lap. I think Joni Hagner will get that lap back, so they'll finish at least on the same lap. But apart from that, it won't be enough to really get close to that little Legends car.
59 seconds between him and the driver in second.
And Dove got it done down the front stretch. Dexter Castro was easy pickings without the oomph underneath that Pontiac. There you see her ahead. She's got to avoid a little bit of action, though, around her. That is Kevin Groskowski pulling out of the way, trying not to cause too much of a problem for those around him.
And again, as Johan said, though, Dexter says, yeah, so what? You got to pit. I'm out here.
Does Dexter know that?
Yeah. Dexter knows all. He
13 minutes left to go on the clock as the Great Wizard. Oh, we got more spinning. Guskowski and more problems, this time with Aitken. This is Aitken's in 20th position as the yellow machine, unfortunately, coming out of the left-hander.
Again, the Legend winning against one of the bigger cars, this time the Pontiac.
I almost wonder if this is just out of sheer frustration, though. You could see he got into the back of him there, and he'd been trying to get around him. This is not for position. Oh, no, it looks like he took a little curb, so maybe it wasn't frustration, but just lost slight control. Yeah, that curb unsettled him a little bit, sent him wide. And there he goes. So what is Dexter looking at for overall position? He's got a lap still to Jurg in the 555. So I think he was not going to be overtaken by that street stock. Looking at 9th, potentially 8th place, depending on how far back Dove gets set.
Yeah, that's really the thing, because the gap between him and Sarah Duff at the moment is a little bit less than 3 seconds. So if Dexter can keep up the pace and stay within, I would say, you know that like Sarah's going to lose 17 seconds with her final pit stop. So you just have to make sure that you don't get out of that gap. Stay within 17 seconds of her. You will be able to finish in 8th.
I thought I heard someone just have... Oh, I think Yingling had a problem. He's down in 21st. Oh, he blew his engine. I think we've seen the end of the 37.
It seems like it, yeah. Basically the same thing that we saw another street stock do early in the race. I forget who it was, but just under braking and under downshifting, finally blowing that engine. On board with him here. This is one of the most difficult corners, I think, of the track, and just too quickly down. That engine is gone. That's the race over for Grant Jingling.
That was Barraclaw, I believe, that we saw lose his engine earlier on. So the 37...
Grant likes it out there. He likes his viewpoint right now. He's going to sit out there, look at the race.
So Grant's thinking about his life choices for the moment as the 11 minutes left on the clock continue to tick down.
What happens when you blow your engine with 10 minutes left in a 2-hour and 24-minute race?
There's our leader. Go ahead.
I want to say a little bit of contact between Edgar Sancinelli in P15 and Mark Reichert in P4 behind him. They get by Sancinelli now. Who's that as well? He gets by. It's another Jetta of Dirk Federman in P28. He's just trying to unlap himself to Sancinelli. Sancinelli having a good race. We mentioned him before as well when he was still driving around to P13. He's now in P15. He lost a few positions, but still a good race from the American, winning 21 positions today, only 8 laps down to the leader. I think, knowing Edgar, that he will be very happy with his accomplishment here today.
Certainly seemed like he was having trouble staying out of the way of the lead cars, because Reichert gave him a little bit of a touch to get through, but there was not too much drama out of that. You see, that's Reichert in the red and white machine just ahead of the cars we're following. See, we're now on 19 laps for Staney with 9 minutes left to go. I feel pretty confident that the 22 will need to come in.
I think so as well, but even if the 22 comes in, I don't think that he will be able to lose that P1 position. He seems very, very strong at the moment, already grabbing the trophy with one hand, or the GSRC stickers with one hand. I don't think that Jason will lose that position. But one of the closest battles that we have on track, and I have to try to find it again, is the one for P11, if I'm correct. It is Yuri Jurk in P11. He's being chased by Alexander Koffart. There's around 2 seconds between these two street stocks, just on the verge of a top 10 result. There's 2 lap cars between them. Those are Giovanni Romano, who's in front of them, and Derek Schimmel, who's behind them. These two drivers are around 2 seconds from each other. That's the closest battle that we have. And it seems like Alexander Koffert is slightly quicker at the moment, winning around a 10th per lap.
That car in front is third place driver Romano, and he's being held up by Schimmel in the Legends car. Now he's going to be able to out-accelerate him down the front stretch, but lost a little bit of time there.
Alex Koffert immediately getting by him there, by Schimmel there, just staying in the draft of Giovanni in front of him, and he can just follow his way through traffic. Now, if he can keep that up, maybe he can find his way by the 555 as well, as he gets lapped by Giovanni in a few laps time.
Yeah, at this point, that seems probably the best strategy with how tough it is to try and pass around here. And this late in the race, I don't think many are going to be willing to give up positions. Around that final corner, he is gaining. He's following Romano closer and closer to the 555.
Yuri Jurk trying to get by Edgar Sancinelli in front of this battle. Still side by side as he reaches turn 3. That will not help Yuri Jurk being that far from the optimal line for several corners in a row. But now he gets by as Alex Koffert gets really out of shape there, out of turn 3. That immediately loses him a bit of time as Edgar Sancinelli also gets out of shape. That allows Giovanni to get by.
Ooh, but does not allow Koffert to get through. They come up to the chicaning. The 19 has to wait very patiently. Don't look now. They've also got to deal with blue flags of their own because here comes Hagner, the second place car, hoping to gain as much time as he can. He really doesn't want to sit around here because remember, he's chasing Staney for the lead, even though they are not currently near each other on track.
Yeah, even if Joni cannot win this race, I would imagine he at least wants to finish on the lead lap. He actually gives the 19 a little bump and run there trying to get by. It doesn't help him, however. They get by the Pontiac. Who's that? Daniel Konkel, who's currently driving a P19. He gets out of the way to this pair. Joni Hagner, like you said, Joe, really trying to get by the 19 as soon as possible to close down the gap to the leader as much as possible before the checkered goes out.
See, I think Joni figures it's an oval car. This is how you're supposed to race them, right?
Exactly, yeah. He's actually... Exactly. Well, it's not helping him so far at the moment. Big cackle of cars. The number 31 and Dustin Berenson. Dustin Berenson driving into 30th position have some contact as they go through turn 5. Still 2 Jettas in front of the 5 and 5 now side by side through the final chicane. And they also have contact. That's 2 car contacts for Dustin Berenson in the matter of 2 corners. He stays in front of that car. The 5 and 5 gets by. That allows the 19 to win a little bit of time, but not close enough to go for a position. There's still 3 cars between himself and the triple five.
This is tense stuff. Oh, and nearly gets into the back of the 555 now. Does Berenston. He's trying to get as much pace as he can because Dirk Fetterman is back there, though it's not a battle for position. Obviously, he doesn't want to slow up anyone behind. Or number 28 of Romano, feeling a little bit stuck. He hits the front stretch. He gets 1, but he doesn't quite get 2. Oh, now he's going to get 2. Way wide. 3 wide for these 2 Jettas. Oh, and they make contact. That's with our second place driver and with the number 19. Cofford is off. More contact between Berenston and Hagner as he finally gets through, not without a few elbows.
Oh, and Berenston actually had 3 hits, I think, with twice with Alex Coffard and once with the 13 there. That will not help him at all. We go to a replay there. Oh, Alex Coffard, he is really the unlucky person in that crash. He's the only one who gets turned around, and that loses him a lot of time. Now, Bill, you actually saw a good battle shaping up for P5. That's probably one that we should take a look at.
Yeah, after Phil had his incident, his car's a little bit off pace. We're talking about Phil Lake. He's being ran down. Reed Miller is closing in on him pretty quick. Traffic could play a factor here. Check to see if we have to see a pit stop from Miller.
Oh, sorry. Joni Hagner has just blown his engine. Run down to turn 3 with 4 minutes to go. He blown his engine. He's rolling around very slowly over the track now, but he will lose that position to Lavender Racing, who will get to P2. You can see him rolling over the grass there. Just follow him here. He goes through turn 1, turn 2 now. The leader has just pitted. He's back on the lead lap, and once he tries to get it slow down for turn 3, he becomes the 3rd street stock today to blow his engine, and that's the race over for the Glacier Pacing car with only 3 minutes to go.
Disappointment for Joni and Ruscola. This will hand second to Romano. And also worth pointing out that after he blew his engine, there was some cars, I think, that got checked up, and the number 49 was involved in that. That was Dexter Castro. He had some contact. I think he's still okay.
The interval now 20 seconds to Dub. Dub needs to make that stop, we think. Maybe not.
Dub just made it. Dub just came out, and she's out ahead of him.
Yeah, that short pit stop time from the Legends really paying dividends. So that means that Sarah Duff, if she can go quickly, 8 to go, we see on top of the screen. So it would mean that there's enough time for Sarah Duff to overtake the 13 car, who's now sitting in the pits, trying to get repairs done, but I don't think he will come out before the race is over.
Bill mentioned a little bit earlier that Phil Lake has got to worry about Reed. Reed's got it down to 1.3 seconds, although Reed himself struggling for grip coming onto the back stretch and now into the final
Lake in
corner.
front of him. Yeah, like in front of him is struggling with some traffic though. Luckily one of them went to the pits, but who's that in front? There's Randall McGrew. That's one of the drivers we haven't spoken about. He's currently driving a P24. He's in front of Philip Blake, and Philip Blake cannot find his way back. Look at Reed Miller. He has closed the gap down to only 2 car lengths. Now this is the battle for P4, just outside of the podium. Both these drivers are in the top 5, but I think that Reed Miller, he has been very quick the last few laps, quicker than Lake. I think that he really wants to take that position before the race is over. With, I think, looking at the time, around 1 more minute to go. 2 or 3 laps to go. Time is running out for Reed Miller, but he is quick. Oh, he has to make a pit stop though. Reed Miller has to come in for splash mess.
Oh, so that is going to scupper his chances, unfortunately.
And that actually means that Brian Schabelsky gets in the Jetta a top 5 position. He actually comes out as Reed Miller comes out of the pits. They are nose to tail, basically. Less than a second between these 2 cars. But Brian Schabelsky is just in front of Reed Miller. Nothing between these 2. And we've seen the speed of the street stock. This will be a very good battle for top 5 position.
Send him off, Brian. Hold him back.
Laps are ticking down. It's been a long 2.4 hours that these drivers have been fighting around this 1 kilometer track. And Jason Staney will have 2 to go, we believe, at the line. 1 to go. This will be the white flag for the number 22. 1 kilometer left to go. He's got a lap over the car behind him. He's just got to make it to the finish from here. He may have inherited the lead, but this has been a fantastic race. Go ahead.
Miracle had a spin right in front of our Sabelsky. He's going to lose that spot. It looks like Miller's going to get 5th.
Just a few more corners to go. 144 minutes. And the driver who came out on top for the first 2.4 hours of LeMess is Jason Staney, winning the race today.
Great result. He is not only the winner, but also the first legend driver today here at Tsukuba 1000. The first street stock driver. We have to wait a little bit before he comes over the start-finish line. But it can only be Giovanni Romano. He's the only driver 1 lap down. So he will finish in P2, get a podium position, and a very good result starting the race in P10.
Should point out that among them is Zabelski, who's trying to chase down Miller. And I think as they come to the line, he's going to run out of time. Zabelski will be your highest finishing VW in 6th place. And our highest finishing Pontiac was, of course, Dexter Castro in the number 49. He completed 207 laps in the end compared to the 212 of our winner. Everybody's come across the line at this point, so it's time for us to take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. Stick around, though. On screen, you'll see all the upcoming races here on the GSRC. Welcome back to Tsukuba Circuits. The 1K course saw the first 2.4 hours of LeMess. And though it was a bit of a mess at times, it certainly seemed like a lot of fun out on track. And I think Jason Staney, of them all, seemed to have the most fun because he won by a full lap ahead of Lavender Racing there with Giovanni Romano, in second place. Mark Reichert for Glowing Disc Motorsports comes home in third. Phil Lake for Dirty Torque takes fourth place, and then Reed Miller rounds out your top five. Then in sixth, you've got Brian Zabelski. Sarah Dove with a nice run going from 34th. I think she might be our highest climber, honestly, to seventh place. Dexter Castro challenged her for that, 30th to 8th for him. And then, of course, Team Vinny Meatball with Davis Shelfer in there finishes ninth, and Yuri Jurg rounds out your top 10. Bill?
Oops, sorry, I have technical difficulties. Let's give it to Steph.
To Johan.
Johan,
P11, we find Benjamin Morton in the Pleb Motorsport, presented by Salt's Pizza. I want to name that name again. He finishes in 11th position. Joni Hagner, who unfortunately blew his engine, he finishes in 12th. 8 laps down in front of Alexander Buerler. Edgar Sancinelli, we talked about him in 13th position, about him in 15th position. In the end, he finishes in 14th. David Melnauerich, he finishes in 15th in front of Alex Coffert, who had a lot of unfortune today here at Tsukuba. Evan Longacre, he finishes the race in 17th position in front of Steph Veenhoff. Daniel Konkel comes home in 19th, and Kyle Aitken rounds out the top 20, Joe.
21st goes to Jorge Zalijo, with 22nd to Elliot Hoffman. Derek Schimmel finishes 23rd, and then Randall McGrew 24th. Stefan Schlacker got back into things and wound up with a 25th place, although he seems a little bit unhappy with that position in the end. 26th goes to Dirk Fetterman. Gabe Nail back there in 27th. Grant Yingling, a lot of problems keeping the car going. DNFs to the end in 28th. David Bearclaw 29th, and Dustin Berenson 30th. Bill, do you have your screen back yet?
Oh, Johan does such a good job. Let him do it some more.
Here we go to P31 and Kevin Goskowski. He finishes the race 79 laps down in front of Riley Downey. Aaron Smith II comes home in 33rd position in front of CP. That's Chris E. Pence. Miguel da Silva comes home in 35th position. Art Peck finishes in 36th. Brian Kita, one position below him. Dawson Brock, that's one of the drivers that we wanted to keep an eye on. Unfortunately, he had some misfortune early in the race, only classified in 38th position. Ryan Garbin, also a driver that had some misfortune, only finishes in 39th. Sven Demmel, one of the contenders in the Pontiac, only comes home in 40th.
41st goes to Trevor Vovrosky, usually a very quick driver. Unfortunately, did not finish well today. Jeroen Ursum, his luck continues in pretty much every series we see with him. 42nd, Mike Major, 43rd. Maik Baluk, a driver who certainly seemed fast at the start, winds up 44th. Lyle Christensen in 45th. Jason DeVries led for part of the race, but not the final laps. He's 46th. Gilles LeBlanc, 47th. Jamie Hall, 48th. Cordell Colin in 49th. And then 50th goes to Fadi Chamas. Believe after that, we only have one. Yep, Joe Morganti, rounding out our 51 car field. A lot of cars squeezed into a tiny place. First, I believe we have our second place finisher here to talk. I believe is the first one we're going to talk to. The Lavender Racing car with Giovanni Romano. You certainly stayed up in it, Giovanni, but what is it like trying to keep pace out there with that many different cars on track?
It's like driving through rush hour traffic. It's absolute chaos, but it's also a lot of fun.
Obviously, we did have a few practice sessions before this official race. Did you get to go to any of those, or how did you warm up for this thing to prepare for such a situation?
I ran a solo practice on my own just to get an idea of the fuel numbers and stuff. But outside of that, I didn't get any practice in traffic until the session opened.
So you wound up with second place, but you were a lap down. What are your thoughts on the balance of the cars? Did things seem pretty decent between them, or did you feel like you had an advantage or disadvantage in the street stock?
Well, I think it was the Legends car that won, right? And I believe they were supposed to have a little bit more weight that might have made it a little closer. But I think the big difference was I got involved in some incidents early on that I lost maybe half a lap from that. So maybe if I had a cleaner start, I might have been closer.
Well, it's always ifs, ands, or buts with racing, but it seemed like it was still entertaining out there. Congratulations on a podium on a very hard-fought race, sir.
Yeah, thank you, and thanks to Joe for running this. It was and you guys for broadcasting. It was great fun.
That was second place, Giovanni Romano. Up next, I believe Bill has Phil in and around the lake.
Bill, congratulations. You got yourself a top 5 finish.
Yeah, pretty happy with that. That was a pretty wild race.
Those legends are tough. You took quite a hit there later on in the race.
Yeah, there's not many races you can be upside down twice and still finish 4th. So pretty happy with that. The legend is one of the biggest problems is the wheels stick out from the fenders. So if you clip anybody, you're going over.
Having to pit so often is kind of interesting. Did you go around several cars more than once?
Yeah, I think I passed Dexter probably 5 or 6 times. I kept passing him, and then just as I got by, I'd pit, and just in endless loop of just catching him just before I had to pit. But it was fun. I made quite a few mistakes in the pit stops, like forgetting to uncheck my tires and stuff. And one time, I actually forgot or remembered in the pit lane and only managed to untick the rear tires. So I ended up taking front tires, and the car was awful for the next 25 minutes or so with fresh front tires and old rear tires.
I'll get you out of here on this one. Could you feel the size difference in the cars when you're coming up along those street stocks? Does it, from watching it, it's just frightening, the size difference. Does it translate into the cockpit?
Yeah, everything else felt way bigger than us. I think the Solstice wasn't too bad, but everything else is like towering over you. So yeah, it's quite scary sometimes.
Oh, it's fun to watch a race. It was a fun broadcast. Congratulations. We'll see you down the road.
Yeah, thanks guys. Thanks for putting this all together.
Phil Lake, top 5 finish for him today, Joe.
Not quite in the top 5. It's still an admirable effort. Johann's caught up with Brian Zabelski, who was our highest finishing Jetta.
Yeah, Brian Spelsey, welcome to the booth. I just wanted to congratulate you immediately with kind of winning the race in the Volkswagen Jetta today. You were a highest finisher, P6 overall. How was it out there for you?
Well, thanks guys for hosting the race. Boy, it was quite the adventure in the Jetta because it has a lot of really good low end torque, but compared to the street stocks and the legends, those guys would just rocket off the corner past me. So I was just trying to have to kind of manage traffic. I race in the Grand Touring Cup in the official series, so I'm a little familiar with having to deal with faster traffic with the Mustangs and whatnot. Very similar, but yeah, it was quite the adventure out there. Just trying to run my race and I had a bit of a strategy in mind. I had fuel numbers all calculated out. I knew what I needed to hit every single time to get to the end on a certain number of stops, and I did it. And it was just making sure that I avoided contact and getting spun, and that was, I think, probably what kept me up there in 6th place at the end.
Absolutely. Now, you mentioned that some of the other cars had a lot of like power out of the corner. How do you deal with that, though? If you approach a street stock, for example, that's maybe a little bit slower overall over one lap than you are, but you just don't have the straight line speed to get by him. How do you approach that?
I think one of the things is that the Jetta is a little bit, it's a little smoother through the corner, so that's where you can kind of make your advantage, and just being stable on your brakes, being stable going through the corner, being stable on exit, because the legends and the street stocks have a lot of rear end wheel coming out of the corner, but they can also spin really easily, get those tires all spun up, and then next thing you know, they're flying across your front end. So you always want to make sure that you've got a nice clear exit on the way out. Just be nice and steady, nice and stable. Don't do anything too crazy on them. Don't just dive bomb into the corner on them.
Well, you certainly seem to manage that. We're taking a look at your car now on screen, and it looks very well. Congratulations with P6 out there. We hope to see you again soon, Brian.
Thank you.
That was Brian Sawelski, and the next one up is Sarah Duff.
Yeah, Sarah certainly impressed a lot of people, going from 34th to 7th. In the legends, I mean, what's the secret out there? Was it just to try and stay out of trouble? Is it possible even to stay out of trouble in this race?
It wasn't for me. I had my fair share of being crashed into and also crashing into other people, unfortunately. I think just making sure that you don't have a big, huge, massive crash, and that you should be fine.
That certainly worked out well for you gaining so many spots. But did you have a strategy coming into this? Obviously, the cars all had adjusted fuel and weight, except for the Solstice. So, did you do practice to try and figure out, okay, I'll go this long, or did you just run it dry and let it play how it falls?
I kind of forgot that this was happening, and then I like checked the Discord, and everyone was talking about it, and I was like, oh. And I've kind of been quite ill for the past week, but I managed to kind of just get some drinks and drive around. I didn't have any practice, so when I joined the qualifying, that was the first time I'd driven the car on this track.
That makes that all the more impressive. Well, definitely go get some rest then if you're still recovering from illness. But that just wows me that you came in with almost no practice and managed a top 10 today. Very few drivers even made it to the finish. Congratulations.
I think my qualifying compared to my finish kind of goes to show that.
Certainly does. That was Sarah Dove, 7th place here today. Bill, real quick, is going to talk to someone he's a little bit of a fan of, Dexter Castro, taking a little bit of an underdog car around the track.
Dexter, kind of knew that you'd be in the Solstice. If there's a weird car to race, that would be you. How did the car feel after being out there for 7 million laps on the same set of time?
Yeah, well, I have to correct you, Bill. We were in the Z4. We were way down on straight line speed. Even without the weight screw up, the roof would have been just so OP. But with that, there was just no competing with them. But it actually went well. We had no major setbacks until the end when a roof decided they needed the apex from a car length behind us. So I crabbed around the last few laps and managed to hold on to the spot. Other than that, I mean, there was one time where a Ferrari decided to punt a Ford GT3 into our door, but that actually made the car faster afterwards by a couple tenths. So it all went about as well as it could.
Did you stop it? Did you actually pass a car on track today?
For position, no.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, no, I passed a few solstices at the start because I got shuffled back from avoiding some incidents at the start. So yeah, actually, I passed like 2 or 3 solstices.
Solstice.
I thought you were in the BMW.
Sorry, you're right. I'm sorry. I passed 2 or 3 other Z4s in the around lap 10, getting back past them, and then I might have passed a few others because I came up on a roof facing backwards in the middle of a cloud of smoke and ran straight into him at one point. So that lost me a couple spots. So I think I had to pass a couple more Z4s after that. But yeah, it went pretty smoothly. I won't pretend to be as fast as the Glacier guys, but I felt like the Solstice was slower than I expected, actually. I really thought I would be a bit more competitive.
It was fun to watch anyway. Hey, congratulations for doing what you do. Thanks for the interview. Always fun. Good luck down the road.
Thank you, Bill.
Dexter Castro, always fun to talk to him, Joe.
Yeah, he took an 8th place. One last one we want to talk to. Could have been a 2nd place for the Glacier Pacing car, but Yoni, you guys came up shy. What happened at the end there?
I got some kind of damage lap before, and my engine blew. I don't know why, but yeah.
Well, it might be some consolation for you to know that you're not the only street stock to have blown an engine. In fact, multiple of the street stocks wound up with that issue and ended their day. Up until then, though, did you think you had something to try and chase down Stady for the lead? It looked like you two were really the main contenders for the victory.
Pace-wise, we were a bit faster, but we could not match those Legends pit stop times. I think he didn't cut even single tire in the whole race, so he was so fast in the pit.
Yeah, it seemed like the street stocks certainly had the worst of it with slow pit stops. I mean, what did you do to entertain yourself? Because it seemed like you could fix yourself lunch.
Well, here is so hot, so in Finland, so it's good to have big breaks in the middle.
That's true. Well, thanks for coming in and talking to us. One last question before we let you go. If we had another one of these races, what track do you think would be fun? Which track would you want to see?
Same one.
I'm sorry, what?
The same one.
Same one? Okay. All right. Well, Yoni clearly had fun today, even though he didn't get the podium finish that looked likely on the cards. That was Yoni Hagner for Glacier Pacing. Despite losing the engine late in the race, they still finished 12th overall. But we've got to close up here and thank a few people before we go. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. And additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Bill, Johan, Amjad, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can also check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. Don't forget, head on over to our YouTube page and hit that big red subscribe button as well so that you don't miss a moment here on the GSRC. Right now, we have the SimCrow series starting up with another team over the way if you want to jump on over there. But we have other upcoming races for series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.